And my vice chair, see?
No. My chair ain't gonna put up with this mess either, just let you know.
Look on his list. I got tape on mine.
Hey, whip flag.
Right there.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
You're live.
We're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March Charles City County Board of Supervisors meeting. Mr. Chairman, I'll let you do your greetings this evening.
Thank you. The regular Board of Supervisors meeting will now come to order. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 2, we have the adoption of the agenda. And before you gentlemen adopt it this evening, Mr. Chairman, I have 2 items that I would like to amend the agenda to reflect.
Okay.
Item M would be the tower relocation for broadband to District 3.
Okay.
Item N would be a resolution to Congressman Donald McKeechin for community funding.
Okay.
Item O, we will continue back to the broadband update.
Okay.
And item P would be the upcoming events. That is my request, sir.
Any other comments on the adoption of the agenda? Not the motion.
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
No change.
Okay. Contingent on the changes that the county administrator laid out for us, please, sir.
Thank you. Any discussion on the proposed motion?
Aye.
What? Also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes from February 23rd, 2021, Board of Supervisors meeting minutes. CH2M Hill invoice for services through March 17th, 2020. Appropriations for April 2021, and a refund request of taxes from the Commissioner of Revenue, sir.
Thank you. Any discussion on the consent agenda, gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, I have one, just 2 changes we need to make of the February 23rd minutes, please, sir. On page 10, under S-Power Broadband Update, which is near the bottom, we will need to change that to SCS. And also in this paragraph that follows that, where it says Dr. Rhonda Russell advises that SES, that needs to be changed to SCS. Those are the 2 changes I have on the minutes, sir.
Okay, any other change you have in the block?
No, sir.
Any discussion on the motion? Vote was called.
Aye.
Block.
Aye.
I also.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This brings us to item 4, presentations for the evening. First, we have VDOT Representative Marshall Wynn with his monthly report. Aisha, if you could bring Mr. Wynn into the program, please. Mr. Wynn, good evening.
Good evening. Can y'all hear me?
We can. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine. Did you get
That's
connected
great.
with Comcast okay?
Mr. Wynn will allow you to have your report to give to the Board of Supervisors this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Johnson, Marshall Wynn with VDOT. Before you should have the Charles City maintenance report. A couple of items I want to bring to light. With the February storms we had quite a bit of debris removal to be cleaned up. And from what I'm told, as of today, that debris cleanup has been completed. That's, down trees and stuff from the ice storm we had. We had 87 work orders that we received, completed 63. We do have a litter pickup coming up. If it hadn't already started today, we're picking up the primaries and a couple of the major secondaries. Chambers Road is one of them, going to the waste management site, and Barnett's Road, Route 609. Just a small snippet of what we're trying to do for the county. this spring and everything. We continue with pothole patching and other litter pickup throughout the county. Been a tough year so far, so I really don't have anything else to add to the report, not unless y'all have any questions.
Y'all have a question?
Yes, sir, I do. Mr. Wynn? This is Lewis Black.
Yes.
Yeah, I just had a question about the maintenance report. Is it a better layout for the maintenance report? What I mean by that is we see the maintenance such as the potholes, the beaver dam removal, but we don't see what's pending, what's ongoing, and what's complete. That's my first question.
Okay.
And my second question is, I just want to put this out there in this perspective. So, you know how like Virginia drivers, we have a requirement to keep our vehicles maintained and have inspections and such. For the roads that we drive on, is there some sort of quality assurance for those also? Is there a standard that roads should be kept up to?
Yeah, I will. Is there a way I can contact you by phone, Mr. Black?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Or email, however you choose. But I was just wondering that, I mean, I know Virginia drivers, we're expected to keep our vehicles maintained and running and well lubricated and within the inspection. And I just want to know if, like I said, if the roads are held to the same standard. Do we have these standards for our roadways? And if you contact me or Ms. Johnson later on, that'll be great.
I can do that.
Mr. William Bill Cotto, what would be the chances of VDOT going back to the old days and pulling all the ditches in Charles City?
Well, we're going to make a big effort coming up late in the spring, all the way through the summer. I want to get with Ms. Russell about the waste management site. And somebody's overriding me.
We're not anymore. You're back to you.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have a big effort late this spring and through the summer with ditching and that sort of thing. So, and we will develop a schedule and get that information to y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Wynn. That's good news. That's all I have.
Mr. Wynn, this is Gilbert Smith. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Smith.
I have several things I'm going to report, and maybe they have been reported to VDOT before. The first one is 8820, the new road. The gentleman told me there's a culvert there, and it's stopped up, and water runs over top of the road instead of under. He said VDOT came out there, but they haven't been back to check on it yet.
Hey, Mr. Smith, if you can email me these things, it would be a lot better because I'm having a hard time hearing exactly what you're saying.
Okay, well, instead of mentioning all of them, I'll mention one more, but the rest of them I will email to you.
Okay.
The other one I'd like to commend VDOT or whoever did it on Barnes Road. Someone picked up 13 bags of trash in a mile and a half last week on Barnes Road. I'd like to commend them for that.
Okay.
But the rest of it, I will email you. Is that fine? Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good, Mr. Smith.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
While you're on, Mr. Wynn, we want to ask the audience that is joining us virtually if they have any comments or questions for VDOT. If you would put your comment or questions in the comment section if you're on Facebook or on YouTube, and we will begin to see those comments as they come into StreamYard. So any members of the public, if you have comments for the VDOT representative, please put your comments in the box below on social media, and we can see them live here in the board conference room. And gentlemen, we'll wait a few moments to allow comments to come in case we do have some.
I got another question for Mr. Wynn. Mr. Wynn,
Yes.
Yeah, this is Lewis Black again. And I was just wondering if you had the opportunity to drive down the Glebe Lane and Wilcox Lake Road.
Haven't yet. I got with the
Okay.
area. I got with the area headquarters yesterday, and they will go do a review today.
Okay, yeah, I know it's like a numerous amount of potholes and divots along that road also. And it's too many to mention the address to go along with it. But if we can, re-examine that road and patch it up, or even just repair the entire road so that pothole fixes aren't just lasting 2 weeks or a month. I know it has an increase of commercial vehicles and traffic now. So yeah, when we talk, I guess we'll discuss it even further. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, we're down. The superintendent at Charles City's got to get a double bypass. That's going to be happening April 1. And we have Tommy Brown, the supervisor, who will be acting superintendent until he comes back. He'll probably be out at least 2 months. So, yeah, we're working with him, and the maintenance manager is working with him every day to try to get some of these things resolved.
Okay.
Mr. Nguyen, we are receiving comments. Our first comment for the evening is from Ms. Cynthia Robinson, who is requesting the patch of pavement on Lot Carey Lane across from the travel center. You and I have discussed this project. If that could be, I guess, repaved because it is dangerous because of the uneven road right there. Next, we have Ms. Susan Miles. When will you provide an answer for 9141 Lot Carey Road about the trees at the edge of the embankment? Adam Brown says, is there any chance of fixing bonnets from the landfill to Holmes Auto? The road is really rough and bounces you out of the car. So from Waste Management landfill to Barnett's, right at the intersection of Barnett's Road, they're wanting to evaluate the road from that section. Wilson Isabel would like to see paving for Green Yard Estate.
Hey, Ms. Johnson, is there any way you can send me that information by email?
We sure can, but we wanted to make sure the public heard us express those comments to you this evening. But I'll have my assistant follow up with the email with all of the requests tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much, Mr. Nguyen. You enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, you too. Thank you.
When,
Next item. Oh, yeah. Okay. Next item, Mr. Chairman, the COVID-19 update with Director of Fire and EMS, Jimmy Johnson. Aisha, if you could bring Jimmy into the broadcast. Good evening, Mr. Johnson. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. Nice to have you back, Ms. Johnson. Welcome back. Cases for COVID in Virginia as of today's stats, 607,234 cases, 25,948 hospitalizations, 10,137 deaths for the state of Virginia. For Charles City, we are at 438 cases with 35 hospitalizations and 15 deaths, unfortunately. Just want to make a couple of quick notes. As always, I'm pleased to share that Charles City now has 29% of total population vaccinated with at least one dose. That's approximately 2,085 residents with at least one dose of the vaccine. As of this week, Charles City is trending higher than the state, which is currently 24% of population receiving at least one dose. So that's a good note for Charles City. We're above the state's average. We're also trending higher than our neighboring counties, New Kent, who's at 26%, Chesterfield at 23%, Henrico at 25%, with at least one dose vaccinated. Another note that I want to remind folks that we are having our second shot for vaccine for vaccination tomorrow at the high school from 10 to 4. And this is the second shot if you got the first shot on February 22nd. Your time is still the same as when you went the first time. Also, we've had some people ask questions about getting phone calls. We have called everyone that have signed up. And I just want to remind folks to, if you see a phone call from a administration building or a county building, try to answer that, because sometimes it doesn't just show up as Miss Greenhouse number, and she's trying to reach you and let you know about your appointment. Also, she's called folks and left messages, so make sure that you check your messages, and make sure that we've had a couple of phone calls where the voice machines are full, so make sure you just check and clear your voice messages. That's all I have, Ms. Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, after tomorrow, do you know the date of the next vaccination that we will have in the county?
Yes, the next vaccination will be April 7th. I'm not sure what vaccination it will be, whether it be the 2-shot or 1-shot. I should find that out next week sometime, but I know it's scheduled for April 7th, which is a Wednesday. All the vaccinations will be on Wednesdays at the high school.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Y'all have any questions, comments?
I do, Mr. Johnson, that 10 to 4 time frame, is that enough time to, I guess, cater to those that are slated to get the second shot?
Yes. We didn't want to overwhelm Virginia Department of Health and the people that were given the vaccine. So everyone that calls, we put them into a time slot, and we average about 80, probably like 83 people per hour. So we're not overwhelming them.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow's vaccination, they have 424 with appointments for tomorrow. And so after tomorrow, that will mean 2,049 citizens have received the vaccination here in Charles City. Jimmy, do you happen to know the waiting list number that you guys have for the next clinic?
Yes, I think we're around 250 already. Between 225 and 250 that's on the waiting list for the April 7th vaccine.
Which is great. And today I actually had an interview with WTBR 6 who wanted to know what was our secret down here. I said, we're just good old people who love one another and we're a close-knit family, but we are seeking a lot of traction. People want to understand what is Charles City doing, because a lot of rural communities in Virginia are having a problem getting people vaccinated. But I think because we're such a close-knit family, and we want to just commend the director of fire and EMS and his staff, because they make one-on-one phone calls. Our staff has assisted him, but they are calling every individual for their appointment. So we want to commend them for their efforts and hard work to put Charles City ahead of the curve around the rest of the Commonwealth. So thank you, Mr. Johnson.
You're welcome.
All right, next we have, Mr. Chairman, an update from our Parks and Recreation Director, Kimberly Barrow. Aisha, if you could bring Ms. Barrow into the broadcast, please. Ms. Barrow, are you there? There you are. Good evening. How are you?
I'm well. Good evening, everybody.
So, Kim, we are having some technical difficulties with our slideshow this evening that you submitted to Miranda. So we'll ask that you talk through your updates for the board this evening.
Sounds good. All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board, Ms. Johnson. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about a few updates, 5 in particular. The first one is a boat ramp proposal for Lawrence Lewis Jr. Park. Currently, we have, for non-residents, there is a $5 fee that individuals pay to use or access the boat launch. And what I'm proposing is that we do a season pass for non-residents so that we can capture their information, as well as when individuals go out on the river, we have some type of information to be able to tell them when we're closing or if there's an emergency situation. And so I have given some sample decals, should be provided. And so I'm looking for approval for that. I'm looking to charge non-residents $35 per year. Again, it's currently $5 per time that they launch. In terms of numbers, last year we had 123 boats to go out or launch from Lawrence Lewis, and 303 individuals. And of that amount, 71 were non-residents for the county. And so I'm looking for some information or guidance in regards to that proposal. So that was number one. Any questions on that information?
Yes, Ms. Barrow, am I saying that right? Barrow.
I answered it either.
Yeah, you got to it. Your reservations, how's it advertised currently? Is it just on our county website or?
For the boat ramp launch, it's just on the county website, and it's a lot of word of mouth. Most of the people that come to Lawrence Lewis are individuals who've been coming for years to there, and then they just launch their boat because it's an easier access point. And it's also cheaper than some of the other places to launch.
They don't have reservations for that. Is that what you're asking?
I'm talking about the entire layout here.
I got you.
Yeah, but,
Yes,
okay.
I
That's
got
fine.
you.
But beyond that, speaking of the boat ramp, we need to discuss further, repairs to the boat ramp
More.
in another segment. Yeah.
More. Okay.
But, thank you. That's all I had
She needs action on this though,
right now.
from us, as far as doing a season's pass. That's what she asked for. And going from a $5 individual time charge to going to season passes for non-residents of $35.
And it's up for discussion right now? Or-
Well, is that really up for a motion to take action? Yeah.
I mean, we can discuss and take action there if we want to.
Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with that, because to me, a season pass, they probably would come out cheaper if I get the season pass instead of paying every time they go in there. It just depends on how many times they go in.
Well, how do they track season passes?
They would have to go,
You have to track it.
yeah, they would have to go through Parks and Recreation and register and acquire the pass.
So it's actually a physical pass and they'll have.
It's a decal that will go on their vehicle.
Okay.
And one of the problems that we have is that when individuals come and go out to out on the river, they're not back by the time the gates are closed, and we don't have anybody's information. So this is another way to capture the information, because right now we just had a system where they go to the kiosk and you get a ticket to say, this that you paid. But this will allow us to have contact information. So if they do go out and the sheriff's department needs to contact them, because right now, if they come back, the gate is locked, because we don't not lock the gate because they're not back off of the river. And so the gate is locked and they have to call the sheriff's department, and the deputy has to go back and unlock. So I think this is a good way to have that information to contact them once they go out on the river as well. Question, Mr. Code, I see your mind swirling.
Well, there's lots of reports that the gate's not ever locked. So how do we know, do we have any type of verification that the gate's being locked and unlocked in a timely manner?
You can access Barrow.
Yes, the gates are locked during May through September, which is Eagle season. That's when the gates are primarily locked. And that's why we also have to have an actual part-time staff person there to man Lawrence Lewis. And so they're there during that time. And they unlock it at 11 o'clock and they close it down at the end of the afternoon. So that's when it is locked. And so you're referencing more of outside of that time period, the October through April is when the boat ramp is not locked and anybody can access it. And during that time period as well, it is an honor system. So if a non-resident decides to use the boat ramp, say right now, it is an honor system on whether or not they pay the $5.
So at nighttime, it is what it is. All the nights, every night.
So there is a gate to get into the park and then a gate to get to the boat ramp.
And that's right in front of the boat ramp.
Correct.
How about the gate to the park? Because if either is locked, the boats can't get out, correct?
Correct.
So I'm talking about the gate going into the park and all.
So
Is that supposed to be
The entrance gate, Kim, is what he's referring to, his question is referencing.
Sorry. The entrance gate is usually locked at dusk and opened at dawn by the sheriff department.
Do we have any way of verifying that?
Can you verify that, Kim?
Yes, sir, I can. Yes, ma'am, I can.
Is there an easier way that we can do that? I mean, I know some gated communities sometimes just have a punch key type deal. I mean, it might be costly, but at the same time, it'll eliminate some of this lock the gate manually type deal.
That's something
That's something we can discuss later, yeah.
Kim, if you could put that on your list to evaluate.
Thank you.
But season
So,
pass,
now just $35 thing. Is that right?
Yes, for the season pass.
All right.
Any other discussion?
You know.
Ms. Barrow acting for action.
so a motion to accept the $35 season pass for boat ramp access
For non-residents.
for non-residents.
Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Vote Mr. Black,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor?
Aye.
Vote aye also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
The second bit of information I have is on the proposed farmers market. I've obtained approval from Memorial United Methodist Church to utilize the grassy space in between the administration building and the church.
One
For
moment,
farmers.
Kim, one moment. So gentlemen, we had a slideshow prepared for this. Because we're having technical difficulty, that's why it's not in your binders. So you just have to follow along with the presentation verbally. Thank you. Continue, Kim.
So for the farmers market, I've obtained approval from Memorial United Methodist Church to use the grassy area in between the administration building and the church for a farmers market. I put out 3 surveys to the community. The first survey garnered 145 responses. The second survey was to vendors, and that was approximately 50 people that responded that are interested in being a vendor for the farmers market. And then the third one was a mass, just more logistics as to what the community wanted. And so from those surveys, we would like to start a farmers market May through October from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the first and third Saturdays.
Okay. That's what you're asking?
Well,
Yes, sir.
you all need to take action on that. We have to give her permission.
Just information. Okay.
Well, how much would that cost over here to sort of rent that area? I know we got permission, nothing, or?
So we partner with the church to utilize that space, but there will be a fee for the vendors. Kim, if you want to go into talk about the fee structure that you've established for the vendors to participate.
So there's 3 different levels for vendors. The first one is a producer level. Producers are the individuals like the farmers, the planters, people who we really want to come to the farmers market so that we can have access to food, to decrease food insufficiency in Charles City County. And so those individuals would pay $15 per time that they come. But if they registered by a certain date, they would receive a $5 discount so that we can get more of them to participate in the farmers market. The second access level is a maker. A maker is an individual who makes goods or clothing or any type item from their hand or from their family member. Those individuals are also welcome to do the farmers market. And then the last one would be direct sellers, individuals like your paparazzis, your Mary Kays, and those natures. The last 2 vendor types would be limited because we want to focus on the producers for the farmers market. However, we do want to be able to stimulate, the economy and allow small businesses to thrive as well. So we do want to be able to provide some type of access to the farmers market for them as well.
How much? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that would be $15 as well for them. Yes, sir.
How much space will they be allowed?
It would be a 10 by 10 space. They will furnish their tents as well as tables and chairs. We will provide the area, the marketing, the getting all the information out for people, as well as porta-johns and things of that nature. but the vendors will be responsible for bringing those items, which is why the price point is where it is.
Looking forward to John, not the building.
Correct.
Okay, so y'all have any questions, comments?
I think it's a great idea.
I think so too.
And I think this is the answer for calls. Social media, we had some citizens who expressed an interest of having a farmer's market. And that's why we surveyed them to make sure. So we're hoping that, you know, when we kick off the first Saturday in May, our citizens will come out and support the local vendors. I know we have a great vendor, Amy's Farm, Amy's Garden. She's located here in Charles City, and she is well known in the farmers market industry in Ryan Park and Williamsburg and Gloucester Street. And so she's right here in Charles City. So she is a trendsetter. And I know that she is assisting Kim with some information. So we're excited to help to have this. So Mr. Coder, we want you to come out and spend all your money with all the locals. Okay? I think that we're going to allow 14 slots, Kim, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So it'll be 14 vendors total to start off. Again, this is our first year, so we're kicking it off, and there will be 14 available spots for vendors. Mr. Black, you had a question?
Oh, okay, yeah. Is there any type of criteria for vendors?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir, it is. And that information I can send to you guys, but it's also on the county website. I believe I put it up there. For vendors, we do have an application. We have a sign up Genius where you can pay online. It shows you all the dates of the farmers markets, so you can go and pay and access that information for vendors. And a lot of the guidelines is taken from Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, I believe, because certain things you have to abide by their state guidelines as well.
So what happens if you get like an abundance of people applying? How do you vet them?
How do we vet them?
First come, first
So
serve.
when you go to Sign Up Genius, it'll tell you how many slots are available in those categories.
So what happens if this is on a recurring event, whereas somebody else want to get into that slot and they're like, hey, well, I can, it's always blocked. You see
If they're a business person, they know how to be quick and be,
okay.
to get on, they need to go sign up.
Okay.
So you need to go sign up tonight. What are you selling? No, I'm joking.
I'm selling services. I got a service to sell, y'all.
Hey, man, I got a tire under each hand I'm bringing.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay, any other comments, Ms. Barrow?
No, sir, not on the farmers market.
Okay, you have something else?
Yes, sir, I do.
Go ahead, you fine.
I wanted to make you guys aware that the Roofville Gymnasium will be closed from April the 12th through the 23rd for gym floor resurfacing as well as maintenance. And so I wanted to make sure the community knows as well. We've put out information in our newsletter, it's online as well, and we've been telling all the patrons that come to the gym now. We've had since January 982 users/appointments for the fitness center. From February 16th through March the 18th, we've had 77 unique users and 466 appointments. So people have been utilizing the facility on a regular basis.
All right. All right, Ms. Barrow, we want to thank you for all of your presentations tonight, all of your hard work for Parks and Recreation. We want to make sure that next month we have our gym attendance grow to 419. So the four of us are going to have appointments to go to the gym, right, Mr. Coder? You and I on the treadmill together. How about that?
No, bicycle.
Walkway, or they just clean them out?
The hours of the gym is so.
So they are. So I did share. I didn't share with you two guys. I shared with Mr. Smith. Harrison Park, our Public Works Department, is clearing all the brush from on the fencing around the park. Okay. We did get notification that we're getting some additional CARES money, so we'll be coming back with a proposal for some upgrades for Harrison Park too.
I know some people have been telling me they want
a walking path.
Track there, so I didn't know whether that's what they had started or not.
But that's all. I mean, that's years of brush that you couldn't even see the fence. So because grass cutting season is low this time of year, our Public Works Department has cleaned up all of Harrison Park. So we'll have some pictures next month just to show you what they've been doing in public works.
I got one more thing. What are the hours of the gym right now?
The gym hours vary. It is in the morning time. It is 8:15 to 10:15 is an appointment slot. Then our second appointment slot in the morning time is 10:45 to 12. And the 30 minutes in between is so that staff can clean and sanitize and disinfect. In the afternoon, we come back at 3 o'clock. There's slots from 3 to 4, from 4:30 to 5:30, and 6 to 7. And you have to make an appointment for everything.
The day before, or you can make
You can make it the day of, as long as there's a slot available.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, good.
You wanna go work out?
Maybe.
Maybe.
If it's a
Anything
slot
else?
available.
It's a slot available.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Barrow. We appreciate your hard work and dedication.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, the next item we have is our superintendent of schools, and she does have the chairman of the school board with her this evening to present officially the Charles City County Public Schools FY22 budget. She also has joined her Director of Operations, Mr. Jerome Tyler, and Director of Finance, Ms. Sue South. So I will slide my chair and allow the superintendent to slide in my spot. And thank you, Dr. Joppa, for your presentation tonight. And just to accommodate, we're gonna share our laptops so you guys can see.
Oh, yeah.
There's some technical
Just look at.
Just hit the button.
So we don't-
If Miss Miranda. They have your presentation in their packet, the change from that, Dr. Johnson.
Change from this on.
If it's the one, oh, well,
This is data, huh?
is that the last time, like proposed? That's proposed.
No, this has.
Oh, you gonna show me that?
As adopted by the school board?
Yes, so here, they can follow along, that should be okay, those are the reports,
Are you
this is
fine?
the actual, just.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Miss Sal is gonna share her computer that way, I'll share mine this way.
You can turn it over.
Gentlemen are gonna operate it. I have.
Oh, you got it.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a good idea. Now.
Alright.
Oh, we got it. Let's see what else we got in this box.
He gonna blow it up, but it's wasn't sitting around
Randy.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Chairman Smith, Vice Chairman Black, Bill Cota, Ms. Michelle Johnson, and citizens. I am Rodney Tyler, Chairman for the Charles City County Public School Board. Tonight, Dr. Joppa and I will present the budget for fiscal year 2022 as adopted by the school board on March 16, 2021. This budget serves as a blueprint of what we look forward to doing, and it's a statement about what we value, our goals, and priorities. This budget also details how we are aligning our talented educators, support staff, and fiscal resources to focus on the instructional core and strengthen our way of work in the school division. The division's strategic planning and fiscal management is supported by our core values and guiding principles, including integrity, heritage, learning, communication, and respect. We also have given intentional attention to equity, collaboration, growth, and innovation. This information is comprehensive and is designed to help stakeholders obtain an understanding of the financial plan and health of the school division. It puts in view how we are working as a unified team to align our operations, resources, time, employees, and finances with specific goals in mind. Our vision and mission were also considered as we prepared this budget, as we understand that teaching and learning is our work, and all that we do, including our fiscal management, should effectively support student progress and success. Our vision: Charles City County Public Schools will be an exemplary model of rural education where collaboration, critical thinking, communication, and creativity are practiced, developing adults who contribute positively to the global society. Our mission is to develop self-sustaining, responsible, and educated adults who can contribute and work to improve their community and world. We believe that we all win by working together to educate, engage, and empower our students. The pillars of our strategic plan were also considered. CCPS endeavors to educate, engage, and empower its students, faculty, and staff, equipping them for the purposes of teaching, learning, and becoming successful participants in the school divisions, as well as the local and global communities. Here is our current organization chart reflecting the people who drive and move forward the working of educating our students. The fiscal year 2022 budget goals include developing and enhancing programs and methods to increase the recruitment and retention of teachers and administrators, supporting and strengthening core instruction for all students with an emphasis on exceptional learners, placing an enhanced focus on the health and safety of students and staff, including social, emotional well-being, providing for student learning loss or unfinished learning and closing gaps that have grown due to the pandemic. And examples are achievement gaps and homework gaps. Strengthening college and career preparedness for all students by securing and retaining properly licensed and endorsed educators. At this time, Dr. Joppa will provide a more detailed information about our fiscal year 2022 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. And good evening, Chairman Smith, Vice Chair Black, Mr. Cota, Ms. Johnson, and citizens. In order to fulfill these commitments that were mentioned, we will continue to manage revenue effectively, seek aligned grant opportunities, and leverage partnerships to maximize the benefit to students. Our current fiscal reality means that we will need to use our funds, all the funds allocated from our state and our county strategically, and be innovative in our planning. A third of our current year budget is funded by the state of Virginia. And for the past 5 years, the amount of state funding for our division has been decreasing due to a combination of declining student enrollment and legislative actions, including those unfunded mandates. And our county has made up the difference. And while the costs continue to increase, the additional funding we have received from the county has been offset by the state reduction in funding. And consequently, our budgeted expenditures have remained relatively level for the past 5 years. As a result, we've had to get leaner each year. This chart shows student fall enrollment trends. As you are aware, the overall population has been decreasing over the past several years. We use a formula to determine what our funding ADM would be and compared it to the state's projected figure, and it was comparable. While we've seen overall student enrollment decreases, we have had increases in students receiving special education services. And the number of students receiving exceptional learning or special education services has increased over the past several years. And in this chart, you can see that over the years, how those numbers have increased. The number of students receiving services excludes tuition for students being served in private day schools for special education. And just as a note, students being served in the private day schools, we have to pay for the transportation of those students, and transportation costs are not reimbursable for the students who are privately placed. So some of our current challenges include, of course, the increased number of special education students or those requiring those services such as occupational therapy, physical therapy, the requirement to transport an increased number of students who fall under the McKinney-Vento Act or homeless, and the special education students who are served off our campus, the ability to recruit quality educators and instructional assistants using our current pay scale, and providing instructional support for student learning loss and closing the gaps that may have occurred due to the pandemic. Lack of a registered nurse, and we'll talk more about this because we have now accomplished this goal using ESSER 2 funds, and increased custodial requirements due to the pandemic. So the adopted budget is built on a student enrollment of 578 with an ADM or average daily membership of 540.5. The budget provides for new pay scales for teachers and instructional assistants, 4.5 new full-time positions. We previously included restructuring the current clinic assistant position to an RN, but of course we will use ESSER 2 grant funds for that. We also previously included a summer school program for all students, but we will also use ESSER 2 funds for summer school. The adopted budget provides for more funds for transporting those students receiving special education services, and of course, increased custodial services, instruction to support STEM and STEAM activities, and of course, sustaining our one-to-one technology initiative. So since Governor Northam's initial budget, several changes have resulted in the budget that was adopted by the General Assembly. I'll just highlight a few. Those changes occur in both fiscal year 2021 and in 2022. For 2021, there's an introduction of a new, not budgeted, revenue stream for Charles City County Public Schools totaling $17,156 for learning loss resulting from COVID-19. And some of the eligible programs with those funds could be extended school year, summer school, tutoring and remediation, and counseling and other student supports. And for FY22, there is funding for an average salary increase of 5% for SOQ or standards of quality positions, instructional and support over the 2021-2022 biennium. There's state revenue of $96,055 if employees receive the permanent average of 5% salary increase. Included in the school board adopted budget is $57,633 of state revenue, and that's if employees receive a permanent average of a 3% salary increase. Now, since CCPS did not receive a salary increase in FY 2021, the average of a 3% salary increase in FY 22 would qualify for the 2021-2022 biennium for a reduced state revenue. Other state revenue changes from the General Assembly was an increase of $59,000 in sales tax and removal of $6,000 of mill loss funding. And the next slide just shows the language that emphasizes the compensation supplement, highlighting those SOQ positions and support positions. On the next slide, you can see that we've been making strides to increase the salaries for lower paid employees as well as teachers. Pay scales were restructured back in 2018, but even then we were still behind neighboring school divisions. The last column on this slide lists the average pay raise over the 4-year period of 2018 to 2021. So we know we have some work to do to adequately compensate multiple employee groups. And note that since there were no raises again in 2021, the full raise for the biennium would have to take place in fiscal year 22 in order to receive the full state compensation supplement. Just to point out that not all staff are being budgeted for a 3% increase, but the average should be 3% in order to receive the budgeted revenue. Also, the new teacher pay scales, the pay scale does not give all the teachers the same percentage increase, but it does provide those on higher steps with the 1.5% versus the old scale that had only 1% between the step scales. And on this slide, we want to bring up salaries and just highlight those salaries because we want to bring the salaries up for those in years 1 through 10. This is a chart we showed previously. It shows a comparison of teacher pay scales and is sorted by year 10. You can see how far below our salaries currently are, and we want to go from that orange highlighted row to the green. And note that we do not have current scales for the divisions that are noted in red. While it looks like we want our salaries to equate to what you see on the slide for New Kent, it would actually not be a comparison because, again, what we have here in this chart for New Kent is reflected from 2019. On this slide, you can see our teacher step scale. On the left is our current scale, and on the right is our FY22 teacher pay scale. A step increase using the existing scale would be $42,000, which means everyone would get a 1% raise without adjusting the pay scale, and starting teacher pay would still be $40,004. The FY22 scale would cost $94,000. The gap between steps is not the same percentage, and those currently on steps 0 to 10 will receive the largest raise. It does improve the ability to recruit at those step levels, and also gives existing employees a higher percentage raise, 1.5, than on their current pay scale, which is only 1%. I'm sorry. On that previous slide, it also the previous slide also reflects a change in the longevity stipend. We do have a longevity stipend in place. It's currently $500. The adopted budget has that increasing to $750.
On the previous slide?
That's on the previous slide.
Go back one,
Yes.
Miranda.
Yeah. So here, yes. So for an individual who would be off the step scale, there's a longevity stipend, and we are looking for that to increase from $500 to $750.
So when you say off, I'm sorry to interrupt. When you say off the step scale, that's if they get to step 31.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm looking at Sue to verify. That's correct.
Okay. Sorry.
No problem. And this particular slide reflects the instructional assistance pay scale. Again, the current pay scale is on the left, and the FY22 scale is on the right. And this would be a huge percentage increase. However, $13 would be the hourly starting rate. This would cost $80,000. And note, minimum wage is increasing. And also keep in mind that currently our IA starting rate is lower than our bus driver starting rate, and lower than a driver who drives for us without a CDL license.
Explain the step. What are the steps? Oh, on the left column.
So the steps are the increments between what an individual would make, and I want to say this is their year steps. And so currently, what you see, everybody has the same percentage step as they go along, from not just years 0 to 10, but all the way down. What we're offering in FY22 adopted budget is a change in the steps at the 1.5, and you'll see the jump it would really impact those in years 0 to 10, and those below that, I mean, beyond 10 years would still see some increase, but the greatest increase would be those in years 0 to 10.
Can you go back another slide, please?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was on instructional assistance.
Where did go back another one, if you will. There was one where the first year and I missed it. That's okay.
Go forward.
It's right there in orange. It's 40,400.
I got that. By the way, are we a small rural division? Because I know we're not indicated on there.
We are.
Okay, we are. Okay, but
Go
then,
forward one slide, I think I know what you're talking
pardon me?
I think I know you're saying on this slide, this is where you had a question of the percentage.
Oh, this slide. Okay, you just switched on it. No, there was a slide that just popped up. Okay, on the raise existing staff on your steps. So a 10-year teacher would receive a 2%,
Yes.
but a 1 year would receive a 7.2. Okay, so not everyone is receiving the same amount. Okay, thank you.
How many assistants is there?
We currently have 11.
Is there a chart, like the one prior to this one, that shows, like comparables to other counties for assistants?
For
instructional
teacher assistants?
Yeah,
We can work on that.
I was just curious, I mean,
It seems to vary quite a bit. Our director of HR did look at that,
Uh-huh.
and it really, it didn't seem to be, as good a comparison as the teacher.
okay.
Many of them pay a lot.
Any other questions on this slide?
Do you remember your like your assistant when you went to school?
Do I remember who they are?
Yeah, any name?
Teacher assistants.
Yeah.
I think as a child, I didn't know who served as a teacher assistant. I thought they were all teachers.
Okay. I was just wondering, because of the impact to the student, that's all.
You can advance that slide.
Can you forward us this PowerPoint?
Yes, Ms. Penn does have it, and she can definitely share it.
Thank you.
I think, Dr. Joffrey, we will keep that jump drive because when we tried to download it, all of your font, all of your charts, everything got skewed. I don't think we have the same version of PowerPoint. So she was having to reformat. So we'll get you some printed copies because I don't think what we have, but we'll see if we can get it to work.
Okay, and I can hit forward.
But when you forward it to
when
us.
you open it, it's gonna be a different format.
Yeah, gotcha, different. Everything is like all of your, like for this slide, all of your words are off your slide.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I PDF it, it'll come in right format, but I think Ms. Penn, wanted it in, not in PDF.
PowerPoint. I think we can, was it PowerPoint doing the same thing, Miranda?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so we'll work on it. We'll get it to you, Mr. Coda.
Absolutely.
And members. Mr. Chairman, Ms. Vice Chair.
I don't think it's a debate on, teachers. I think we all agree that teachers should be paid more. They're the most underpaid citizens in our community, in all communities, I think. I don't know why we keep revisiting unless y'all trying to put them up to $100,000 a year. I mean, that's a problem. But I'm just putting that out there.
Another question while we're on people's pay.
Yes.
Does every teacher get the same amount of the raise or are they evaluated and paid accordingly?
So evaluated and being paid accordingly is called merit pay, and currently we don't use merit pay in Charles City County Public Schools. I'll look at Sue to see if we've ever used merit pay. Yeah, so when you are basing your raise or a bonus or anything hooked to pay based on performance, it's called merit pay. And currently we don't use merit pay.
So I got it when I was working.
Yeah. It is something that is discussed periodically. It comes up in the educational world about merit pay. There are varying views on merit pay. One view could be that when a teacher is serving students who are have different learning styles, or they might be serving exceptional learners, and if the merit pay is based on students' performance, meaning passing a standardized test, I may have helped students make tremendous growth. But if the merit pay is based on if they pass the test and not on the growth, then it will look like I wasn't successful, therefore I wouldn't get the merit pay. And I think there are those who believe in the school of thought if merit pay was hooked to student growth over time, this individual came in here and they made this much growth, then maybe. But yeah, that is the whole concept of the pushback typically about merit pay.
Okay.
You're welcome. I can't remember if I did the slide. I will do it. So this particular pie chart shows us, it's a copy of the FY22 instructional programs. It excludes the grants. It's showing us the cost of tuition and materials and personnel. And you can see the biggest part of this pie is our instructional programs. It's our general education program, followed by our special education program. And the costs not included that are associated with special education is transportation, of course, as I mentioned earlier, of the private day students being transported outside of the county. Also not reflected on this chart is summer school. And we have summer school, however, the cost will be funded by the ESSER 2 grant, as I mentioned earlier. This is just a snapshot of the items incorporated into the fund and individual categories. And you can see the impact of the teacher and the instructional assistant salary, as well as the new full-time employees or FTEs. That's in the instruction category. The transportation category includes a new mechanic, the increase in minimum wage, and the adjustment for increasing costs associated with the transportation of students who may be homeless and special education students. The operations category shows the increase. The increase there includes the energy performance contract lease payment, and also some savings, as well as a provision for increased custodial services associated with the raise in minimum wage. We contract services for our custodians, and so with that increase in minimum wage, that'll cause for an increase. That technology category includes increasing costs for software and maintenance service contracts, and the self-sustaining and textbook funds are level funded. And the food service category is not expected to require an increase in county funding. Now, although we have an increase in the operating and maintenance budget due to the energy performance contract lease, you can see that the CIP has a reduction from FY21, a reduction of $425,000. And while the decrease is only $15,000 for facilities, if we hadn't employed the EPC, the request for those facilities upgrades would have resulted in an increase in the CIP.
Go back one slide, please. On this slide here, though, only $15,000 savings is reflected on your energy contracts. Because in transportation, that doesn't really apply to your energy contract, correct?
Transportation is not hooked to the energy contract, no.
And neither is technology.
No, not to the energy contract. Now, that falls under the operating and maintenance.
So that's only $15,000 that you're showing.
Well,
That
I say
changed.
we would have asked for a great deal more had we not done that.
Yes. So yeah, we would have had a higher ask, if you will, if we did not have the energy performance.
But you had $211,000 in your operations on this previous slide.
So can you go back one?
Okay, you'll be discussing that.
Yeah, and it's coming up. It's coming on it's on a slide to come. And so I'll
Okay.
unpack that.
Okay.
I believe it's coming up soon. Yep. I think that's where it was. Yep. Perfect. So as a reminder, the items you see here would have otherwise been requested in the capital improvement plan or budget over a period of different fiscal years. But these items are not. They've been pulled out of capital improvement because they are included and grouped into the energy performance contract. And the total includes, the total includes all of these elements, HVAC, boiler, and the like. The net financial impact of the energy performance contract on the operating and maintenance budget and the CIP is a reduction of $280,000. We'll be in construction phase with this EPC for an estimated 10 months. And consequently, we will realize 2 months of savings on utilities and supplies. But we will incur the full first year lease payment. However, in future years, we will see more savings. Now, this slide shows the capital improvement plan request for 1 bus and for technology items, 6 carts of computers on wheels, as well as switches, access points, and server upgrades. And this is part of our regular replacement cycle. Yes.
Dr. Choppy,
Yes.
the $352,000,
Mhm.
that doesn't reflect the Dominion contribution toward those buses, does it? So actually, that 232 figure isn't really accurate because of Dominion's contribution to the 352?
So the electric buses and one sped bus was in the adopted FY '21.
But they paid for the electric buses, correct? Dominion did.
And I'm gonna
We
look
paid,
over, we paid,
we paid for the cost of
They
the diesel
own the
bus,
guts
and
of
they
it.
paid for the
Inside.
Conversion.
the
That's
diesel
correct.
to the electric.
Okay.
so the inside, the way I say it, to keep it in my layman's
You're
plan,
right.
is
I
the
was wrong.
inside belongs to them, but we purchased the outside.
What is this? Sped?
SPED, short acronym for special education.
Okay.
So including transportation for SPED, the 2 electric buses.
You mind going back to the other slide?
Sure.
And one more. So out of the solar, the HVAC, the boilers and all of that, what about the maintenance associated with that to maintain it? Is there some sort of, maintenance costs associated with it? Is there? Or no?
Included in the contract does include some maintenance for these particular things. Some of them are one and dones,
Okay.
and the maintenance will then lie on the individuals who are part of our maintenance team.
Okay.
Others have more included. I'm going to glance at Mr. Tyler to make sure I am correct on that.
For example, when you place LED lighting, that's a 10-year warranty or something around that. And we place on a warranty. Same thing with solar. Certain parts of solar got different warranties.
So if a solar panel go out or it needs repair, is that on us or is that on them? And for how long exactly?
For each one of them got a different thing. I know the inverters that on the solar is warranty for like 12 years. And we included replacement of that one of those over the span of the contract.
It's over the 15 years, correct?
Yes.
So what happens thereafter? Like say we reach that 15-year point and something goes wrong, is that back on the school and the county and who's qualified to do it? I'm just.
Yeah, 15 years, the guarantee and some savings for 15 years. After that, any savings that we get from the solar farm, for instance, after that, well, it's a bonus for us. I mean, because we still won't be paying, electric bill. After 15 years though, if anything go wrong with it, it would be our responsibility.
So within that 10-year span of solar panel degradation, do we have a plan going forward after that? I mean, because the life expectancy of them, I think they're up to 30 years. Do we have a plan going forward after that?
Yes.
Or?
That's a good place to plug that we were fortunate to also receive a grant, and I am going to say through DMME for $500,000 that supports with things that you're mentioning, Mr. Black.
So maintenance and okay.
And toward the project at large.
So 4.6 million, we are receiving 500,000
toward that total cost
from the grant.
Did you all have a decommissioning bond or anything on your solar situation? At the end of 35 years, when their life cycle is over? Is there any plan whatsoever in place for that?
I'm going to look in the contract. I'll have to look and touch base with ABM, and I'll look at that. I will look it up so I can give you a definitive answer, but I will definitely give it a look.
And what would be the cost of that also? I think that should be included. But that's all I had.
So again, before we move forward from here, the items you see here would definitely be items that would otherwise be in a capital improvement plan.
But out of these items, you don't know which ones you would have asked for in FY '22, because this is over a 15-year period,
Yes,
correct?
and these were things that would have been in a CIP over various
15 years.
Over
Well,
various
the
years.
solar wouldn't have been.
Solar.
No, the solar would not have been.
But things like HVAC, boiler at various varying times, not only 1 year completely, but over a couple of years. These are the things that would have otherwise been included.
From the system that we have now, what additional costs would have been taken away from that right there, that $1.1 million?
When you say system?
The HVAC system. So they've already invested, I can't think of the number right now. Yeah, you know the number. Go ahead. Just put it out there.
Go ahead.
Whatever amount of money has been invested into that. What's the difference between that number right there for the new? It's going to be a whole new system, or?
So for some of these, I want to look at Mr. Tyler to make sure, because he's got the historical knowledge. I want to say some of these are upgrades, some might be
Yeah,
replacements.
some of them are replacement, like the auditorium units, we need full replacement. The boilers are original boilers, 20 years old, they are full replacements. Some units, like I said, have already been replaced, so we update the control system. So that we can, save energy by putting the system on timers, start up at a certain time, and occupied and unoccupied mode, so to conserve energy and save money.
Understood. But the difference of what, like the auditorium you mentioned and the timers and such that, would save money. If the county were to do that type of job, what would be the difference in that number? Like, so you invested 1.1 million into it right there. Would it have been an additional 250,000 to get it to that level, or what?
That would be an additional, but we'd be spreading it out over more years, right? And the prices, I need to give you HVAC units for estimates. When we first started ordering those, you could get roughly 2 ton, which is the average classroom size, for about $1,500. The last batch that we got was close to $2,500. So the cost is definitely increasing. So, getting it now, and it's be a lot cheaper to get it 2 years from now.
Okay.
I think I am. You slides are here. Keep going. Okay, yeah, thank you. So this slide shows our per pupil expenditures. It uses a different ADM than the state. So the per pupil expenditure uses a different ADM than the state funding formula because it does include pre-kindergarten, while the ADM count uses funding, uses a different count where it's not included. So this just gives you a snapshot of the per pupil expenditure using a different average daily membership than the state funding formula. Here, it includes pre-kindergarten.
You have a calculator? Can you tell me what the percentage difference?
So you can go back.
Back it. Can you tell me what the percentage difference is from 16,474 to 18,752? In 1 year. Okay, thank you.
It's a function, if I may say, it's a function of the declining ADM, because you're dividing it by a smaller number, which results in a higher cost.
What's the percentage from 630? That's less than even 1. Okay.
So if I could just say, you look at the ADM,
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You can advance.
you don't need to go back, but I just want to say that does include the CIP.
Yes.
Also, just for information.
Thank you. And this particular slide is reflecting of the total increases and decreases in expenditures. Personnel changes account for $538,000. This amount, $218,000, is for a request of 4.5 full-time equivalent positions. 3.5 of these positions is related to special education, totaling $159,000. The reasons that are driving this request for this position. Of course, as mentioned previously, the increased costs to support students receiving special education services in areas such as OT, PT. We also have varying allowances totaling $115,000, which include increasing the provision for our current clinic position, transportation adjustments for the ever increasing costs for students who fall under the McKinney-Vento Act or homeless, as well as the impact for bus aides with the increase in minimum wage. We have a provision for a part-time bookkeeper at the high school. This position was eliminated in prior years and is offset by some savings in the replacement of the clerk of the board position. We are also providing an increase in stipend associated with special ed and extra duty classes that some teachers may serve in. And then we also are looking at, we're anticipating turnover. So we have funded for that piece too, anticipating that when we have turnover in staff, we'll be able to hire the staff at a greater salary. So we have a provision for turnover and also possibly for placing our current teachers on a different step number. And we also have the overall raises of $212,000 with the teacher scale and the instructional assistant scale changes that we discussed earlier, making up a large portion of costs with the remainder staff receiving 1.5% pay raise. And finally, as a comparison to the adopted FY21 budget, we did incur some savings of $8,000 as a result of the change in the current year staff. And above here just shows the changes in non-salary related expenditures by department. Line item details available in the budget reports for the most part. They're there. Instruction includes our science lab for the elementary school. Admin slight decrease. Transportation increased provision for parts, supplies, and fuel. Operation houses, again, the EPC finance lease, and also includes a provision to increase our custodial services, again, associated with the increase in minimum wage. The increase is more than offset by a decrease in the CIP. The CIP is on a separate slide, and note that the EPC lease, electric and operational supplies are housed in the operations department. The technology reflects an increase in software and maintenance costs. And as discussed earlier, operations and CIP are connected from the point of view of the EPC. We are also having increased maintenance service contracts for technology. So the total change in expenditures with all of these pieces we just discussed is $383,469. And on the following slide, you'll see the changes in funding. Again, you see the same total, $383,469, but now we're not looking at a change in expenditures. We're looking at a change in funding. And this change is asking the county to increase funding to the school division in the amount of $315,566. And please note that this does not include the additional costs for the wastewater treatment plant, a total of $500,000.
If I may, why wasn't the wastewater treatment plant included if you know you have to?
Oh, next slide. So we did it both ways. Yes.
And also I want to understand where that $500,000 came from.
Okay, we got a quote. I'll let Mr. Tyler talk about that.
Homeless consultant, and they gave us a quote, $400,000 for installation, and this tank is a little bit smaller than the existing tank that we had. We got to get an equilibrium tank to kind of monitor the flow, keep it static, so that it won't exceed the value that
Can I get a copy of that quote? Because I do believe Bowman gave me some information on that, and I don't have that same number. So if you all can provide me, Dr. Johnson, a copy of that quote, I would appreciate it, so I can compare with what I have. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So here, we have the, total ask, with the wastewater treatment plan and without it. That top paragraph shows, without the wastewater treatment plant, the budgeted amount for FY '22 requests, again, $315,566 in additional funding from the county, which is a 5% increase from the adopted FY '21 budget of $6.3 million to a requested FY '22 total of $6.6. Now, including the wastewater treatment plant, this is the total amount. That's including the quote currently at hand of $500,000 needed to replace the wastewater treatment plant. The additional funding request is $815,566, which is a 12.9 increase from the adopted FY '21 budget of $6.3 million to a requested FY '22 total of 7.1. And this concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
You break? No, break. Thank you so much, Dr. Jaffe, for you and your staff for your presentation tonight. I went through the preliminary submission from you, Dr. Jaffe, and I can say I have a wealth of questions. I am getting back up to speed, so I'm going to email you all of my questions. So don't pass out when you get it. I was up to about 40 of them, okay?
Okay.
I want to make sure I understand that. So next month, when I make the recommendation to my board, I have captured and got answers to all of my questions, and then talk with my board to see what they have. So thank you for your presentation this evening. We don't have a work session scheduled, but we can get one if you want. My plan was just to make my recommendation at your April Board of Supervisors meeting, Mr. Chairman. But if you want another meeting, I'll give you one.
I'm gonna listen to you first, and then we will figure the part.
Right, so I'll present in April, and then we can do a work session between April and May, because it has to be adopted early in May, because by law, you all have to have it adopted by June 1st.
We've met the requirement for April 1, which is to have an adopted budget.
From you, but from us.
Our only real concern is about contract, employment contract.
Right, as always.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. So thank you all so much. Mr. Chairman, this brings us to our first public comment period. It looks like you guys have instituted some articles on participation for public comment. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this evening we are asking that you govern yourselves accordingly to the comments. So when we have public comment, I wanted just to explain that you'll put all your comments in the chat. We will read them accordingly. We may not answer your questions this evening, but we will capture them so that we can come back at a later date. So if you have any comments that aren't already in the chat, please put them now. Ms. Pine, if you could scroll up so I can see the last comment that so we have Alice Hines. Walton had a comment for VDOT. We will make sure that VDOT receives that, as well as continue up, Ms. Pine, so I can see the comments. Ms. Black had some questions pertaining to the boat ramp. And so we will make sure that we get to Ms. Black. Ms. Roberts, I think we answered that question. There are 14 spots available for the farmer's market. We need more in the county other than a gym. Thank you so much, Ms. Black, for your comments in Harrison Park. Mr. Charity said, going forward, can presentation slide decks, PowerPoint slides be posted on the county website for citizens to view as well? Mr. Charity, we were having those to be posted tonight, but we were having some technical difficulties. You will see a change in next month's meeting. Ms. Pine answered him. Ms. Black wants to pay the teachers more, so thank you so much for that. Looks like Ms. Pine has a conflict over there with her fingers and the computer.
Don't know what it's doing. Okay.
All right, so here we go. Ms. Pine answered, looks like Ms. Ledbetter, if you could continue to scroll. I think they were talking about, they wanted to see the slide deck from the superintendent. So we will have that available on our county website, and we can post it to Facebook, correct, Ms. Pine?
Yes. We
So
should
we'll
be
have
able
the
to.
superintendent's presentation posted. Why are they showing Randy Boyd? Because he's at the table and that camera captures everybody.
At the table when you're going around.
Explain it to camera.
So what we have, ladies and gentlemen, it's called an OWL, a new technology that we're using. And so it just automatically, it literally looks like an owl and it moves around the room. So if Mr. Boyd moves, it's going to capture him. So you can see right now, Mr. Coda is not talking, so it hasn't captured him yet. But it will continuously move. I'm back. I'm so excited. Ms. Schreiber, hopefully there's more than one quote for the water treatment plant. Thank you for that from the schools. We're developing some strategies, Ms. Schreiber, for the trash cleanup program. Mr. Adam Brown, residents that want Comcast but are too far and need financial help from the county.
It's right over the 300 feet.
Okay.
You said over?
Yeah, it's over 300 feet.
Okay, I know.
That's what Comcast will run it to.
Okay.
Okay. And I do know, there have been a few constituents that have been beyond the 300 feet in Comcast because they were like 320 or 340. The two that I know personally, Comcast did accommodate them and didn't charge them extra. So we can work through that. All right, gentlemen, those are the comments that we have thus far. We will move on to your appointments for the evening. Do you have any appointments for staff tonight? Mr. Chairman?
I don't have any.
No, sir.
I do. I just have one for the wetland board. I'd like to appoint Shelley Sheehy of 16931 Sandy Point Road. I think I ought to make a motion.
Yeah. Okay, that's the appointment from Mr. Black. Is there any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Vote Mr. Black.
Aye.
Mr. Coda.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Mr. Chairman, I do have two. It looks like in January, your turn on page 89 of appointments on the Charles City Fire and EMS. You're not going to get away like that. Your term expired to represent the board with Charles City Fire and EMS. On page 89, you expired January the 30th. So if it's your colleague's pleasure, you all can discuss your reappointment or kick you off.
I'd like to reappoint him to that.
Okay, Mr. Black said he wants to reappoint me. Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Vote Mr. Black.
Aye.
Mr. Coda.
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.
I have one question. Are you all going to be sending any type of information to my appointee?
Yes.
All right.
They
Thank
all
you.
get a letter, their appointment dates and requirements.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next,
I'm just kind of thinking, a whole lot of times we have appointments and oftentimes people might be interested in being appointed, but we really don't know if they might not be able to get in contact with us or they just don't contact us. I'm just wondering if any way that we can put it on our website of the appointments that we need.
okay.
And have some type of application.
Okay.
If John Doe is interested in filling the application, and we can consider it and call the individual and discuss with them.
I tried to get interviews for him and it was successful, but to reach out to new people, like you said, that'd be a great idea. Appointee hotline, maybe.
We can come back with some recommendations for you guys this next month for how the process that we'll put on the website and social media to attract new citizens to boards as some are retiring.
But I've gotten several calls of people just moving into the county.
Mm-hmm.
How can we get involved? So I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
I do have one appointment, excuse me, just say, I just noticed one that I do need to make. That's okay with you, Mr. Chairman?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I have another one after.
I would like to reappoint Ed Baper to the Planning Commission. That's my motion.
Okay, any discussion on, Mr. Coler's motion to reappoint Ed Baber? Vote Mr. Coler,
Aye.
Mr. Black,
Aye.
vote aye.
My appointment for the Colonial Community Criminal Justice Board, Mr. Coda, your term expired January of this year. Would you like to be reappointed to represent the board on that?
That's my motion. Johnson.
What do you mean that's your motion?
That's my motion.
It's a motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor. We can discuss it now if you want to.
You should, that is an evening, and we're in discussion, Mr. Chairman. That is an evening, and I assumed quite a few days of stuff for you.
Soccer, basketball. I got too much going on. I'm already a part of committees and commissions.
That's all discussion I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay. You vote, Mr. Coler?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Yeah.
You vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, did you say you had a appointment, or that was the appointment?
That was the appointment
Okay.
for Mr. Coda.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is the county administrator's report.
Okay,
Mr. Black, did you have?
Yeah, I know we moved on from
I
that.
mean, that's fine, we can go back.
If we can go back just for a second.
That's fine.
I know we have like our county fair, commission, and, I'm thinking, what are they doing this year? You know, because this is a unique time. I remember when I was younger, the county fair used to be the hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait for that.
Yeah, exactly. That was a big thing, and I think things like that should be more than just a few pop-up tents.
But just if you do up in the land 2 or 3 years when we had it, it was really great. Had a whole lot of participation and a whole lot of people turned out. It was really great.
But is it like the ones we used to have at the center, at the social center? Those were filled with the Top Gun and the Spider and those types of things. It was something really, a sight to see. And I feel like these are more so
So a
like
whole lot of things have changed in your young days and mine.
right on.
But one thing I always think about, in elementary school, that wasn't yesterday, but when they used to, what you call, way back, wrap the maypole.
Wrap the maypole.
I used to love that, but people not interested in that now.
Our seniors actually wrapped the maypole at an event. They collaborate with Surrey County, and before COVID last year, they would have an event where they wrapped the maypole.
That's
Yeah.
great, yeah, okay, well, maybe, get with staff, some ideas that, what we would like to see, or what you would like to see, and what the citizens would like to see.
Yeah, I think with that, trying to recruit other people to be up on that,
Yeah.
new ideas and, bringing excitement back to the community during these COVID times, I think it's needed. So, that's all I had.
All right, thank you, Mr. Black. Moving on to item A, the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. Aisha, if you could bring Ms. Pemberton into broadcast as we are moving forward. Central Virginia Transportation Authority is a committee. Dr. Russell and Mr. Coder serve on that committee representing Charles City County. And just to give you a synopsis, it's basically a committee formed by the General Assembly on a regional level to collect the sales tax from the state, and they disperse it amongst localities. That's the long and short of it. And so in order to use those funding, the funding that we receive, Ms. Pemberton is going to talk about the new fund that we want to establish, because we want to separate those funds from the operating budget. And so, Ms. Pemberton, if you could talk about the fund, and then that'll be the segue into item B, which is the appropriation of the year-to-date funds that we have received. Ms. Pemberton.
Good evening. As Ms. Johnson just introduced, it is my recommendation to set up a new special revenue fund. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, a new special revenue fund with the fund number 204 in order to restrict the use of these resources and essentially separate them for use for specific projects as directed. So the first step, I request approval to establish this newly created special revenue fund.
So Fund 204 will be designated just for the revenue received through CBTA to Charles City County. So we need your approval or your action, Mr. Chairman, to establish Fund 204.
Okay. You heard the recommendation coming from Ms. Pemberton.
Motion for approval of Fund 204, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, discussion on Mr. Carter's motion, that's for approval. Vote Mr. Carter.
Aye.
Mr. Black.
Aye.
I vote aye also.
Ms. Pemberton, if you could go, that's your segue into the year-to-date revenue that has been received.
Great. So in your meeting materials, you have before you the breakdown of year-to-date amounts received by the county through receipt date of March 5th. And to summarize, the total year-to-date received has been $134,188.41. And to summarize the key points of this schedule you have before you, an initial distribution was made in early February 2021, and this represented the inception to date amount due to the county for the period of July 1st through November 20th, which is the CVTA was established and began operating on July 1st. So this first payment was kind of a catch up to get everything up to speed through the month of November. And in the time since, monthly distributions have resumed on a scheduled monthly basis, and they will continue that way. The county will continue to receive its share of these monthly revenues. And the combined total, again, as I stated before, has been year to date $134,188.41. And going forward, these receipts will be reported to you as part of the monthly appropriation report. So you'll be able to see them there instead of having a separate discussion on the agenda. So at this time, I request your approval or your vote on the appropriation of funds as presented before you.
To accept.
Accept and appropriate.
Is there anything else that is required of us, like the county, to accept this? Nothing?
For the acceptance?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to vote on that right now.
No, I'm saying, is there anything that's required of us? Do we have to add anything in addition?
Oh, no. So basically, there's a formula you can see that's used in your meeting materials that the state looks at by region, how much sales tax, gas tax is collected, and there's a formula used to allocate that money to your locality. So it's no match, it's just money that's coming into each locality, because all of us, including Charles City, need help with the roads, help with our, transportation issues, help with, it can be used for various of things that we'll talk about in the next item that I have on the agenda.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, ready for a motion? I motion for the approval to accept these monthly allocations.
Any discussion on the proposed motion? Vote for
Aye.
Mr. Black.
Aye.
Both sides, thank you.
Now here's where it gets interesting. I know you guys gonna love it. I can just feel Mr. Cotto looking at me right now. All right, so we're gonna start getting these funds monthly, correct? And so Rhonda, Dr. Russell, and I have just been discussing how are we going to disperse these funds? What will we use them for? What projects are we going to prioritize? And because we don't have anyone on staff to per se be dedicated to, Mr. Chairman, nowhere for this. I'm not asking for an FTE.
I know where you're going.
But I do recommend that we establish a transportation advisory commission made up of citizens, just like the planning commission and other boards, so that they can basically, they're out in the community, and I'm just on social media alone, it's a wealth of recommendations. So maybe just a recommendation, you guys don't have to do it, but other localities have done this. Establish commission of citizens to make recommendations up to you as for a priority of projects. Because you can say, I want the ditches clean. You can say, I want, potholes fixed. But I think that we should allow the citizens the opportunity to work with their neighbors and come back with recommendations to you guys.
How many members do you suggest having on this advisory commission?
I would suggest well, of course, always an odd number, so you can have, I would say 5. 7 is a lot to manage, but 1 from each
Like to
district.
get to volunteers.
Right, so I would say 1 from each district and possibly 2 alternates. You have any? So I would suggest at least 3, 1 from each district, and then possibly 2 at large.
And meeting how often?
Well, to get started, as you can see right now, we have 134,000. So I would say at least monthly to get established. But then going forward, I mean, it's totally up to you.
I think monthly is going to be way too much because 134 wouldn't get us from here to the street. But that's just my opinion. Quarterly, yes, but monthly, I think would be overkill.
So I think in order to establish the committee, we come up with the requirements of our expectations, what you guys are looking for, just for the first 3 months to meet monthly, and then therefore, if you think quarterly, I think that's fine.
Once a month don't sound bad though.
Now, we will have to have a staff person to manage them. I haven't gotten that far. I haven't had a chance to talk with the person I'm going to designate to do that, so I won't make that announcement. But I just think that, to take the pressure off of you guys, take it off of staff, have the citizens formalize, to be a part of this committee. And it's not something you have to do tonight. It's just a recommendation from staff. You guys can think about it, come back next month, and discuss it some more.
How soon will this get up and running?
It would take about, at least 30 days for you all to get your appointees in order, right? So at least another 60 days.
How soon are these funds available?
They're in our bank account right now. So they're coming every month automatically. So I would say, you guys take some time, think about how you want to structure it, and come back next month and let's make a decision. Or you could say, you know what, I don't think we want an advisory commission. We know the priorities we want for the community. We can just do it ourselves. It's totally up to you. We work for you.
But I still think, I like to listen to the public and their ideas or suggestions. Not that we have to follow them, but we will know where they're coming from. And I must say, we have very knowledgeable people out there, but it's hard to get them to step up to the plate that I want to be involved. I must say that. So they're out there, but they just will not step up to the plate and take any responsibility. I'd like to see more citizens get involved in these. That's my opinion.
All right. So that is our staff recommendation. So we'll put it on the agenda for you guys to make your final decision next month.
So just make sure as you put these positions, you put them on the website so people can apply if they are interested.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
The next item we have, the Sheriff Department PSAP grant. Ms. Pemberton, if you could go over that request, that's page 114 in your booklet. Ms. Pemberton.
All right. Yes. So the Sheriff's Department has been awarded a combined total of $19,000 in grant funding from the Virginia E911 Services Board, their PSAP program, which, as you well know by this point, PSAP stands for Public Safety Answering Point. And this $19,000 total is broken into 2 pieces. The first is an individual PEP project. It's an educational grant, and that's the $3,000 piece. And the second piece is the regional PEP project for $16,000. And the regional program is a collaborative effort across the sheriff's offices, Charles City, Sussex, Petersburg, and Hopewell. This is a program that the county has participated in for multiple years now. The only change is that Hopewell is now participating this year. And each of these teams have been allotted 4,000 of the 16,000. So 4,000 per county. And Charles City Sheriff's Office will be the hosting agency for this effort program. And the Sheriff's Department is requesting the board's approval to accept these funds and amend the current year, or amend the budget to reflect the addition of this supplemental revenue. It's my recommendation that this request be approved as submitted but I will gladly welcome any questions you might have.
These funds are more or less for training, is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
These funds are more or less for training, is that correct?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is there a match, county match?
No, there's no required match.
Well, with that being said, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
Motion. I motion that we amend our budget to include the supplemental funds of $19,000.
Okay, any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Vote Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mr. Carter?
Aye.
My vote's aye, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the school division budget amendment request for additional grant funding. Ms. Pemberton?
Okay, yes, so the school division is requesting board approval to amend their FY21 budget to include an additional amount awarded in grant funding of $597,839. And in your meeting materials, you will find an itemized breakdown of this additional funding. Most of these awards are not upfront amounts received. They're grant awards, which are on a reimbursement basis instead of dollars received in a lump sum. If taking a look at the schedule and on page 2 in your meeting materials, you'll notice that the largest amount, an award in the amount of $569,046, comes from the ESSER 2 program, which is a funding program that Dr. Jaffe had mentioned during her presentation. But ESSER stands for Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. Normally this is a once a year request made by the schools, but this year, given the unusual events of the year with the pandemic and such, this year a second request is necessary for these additional awards that had not been finalized at the time that they made their initial request. So I'll give you a minute to look over the itemized breakdown in your notebooks, but I'll gladly entertain any questions if you have any.
No? Don't have any questions or comments from Ms. Pemberton of the school's request?
Give it just a second, sir, if you will.
Okay.
And what was this grant destined to be used for? What is this its sole purpose? I know you might repeat yourself. Sorry about that, but I was searching for the page.
No, absolutely. The schools can provide more specific details on this, but in talking to the finance director earlier, some of the key highlights that were mentioned were brought up were using some of these funds to cover the school summer school program and after school remedial education programs, which they noted would be, instead of using county dollars for that, which have been used in previous years, and then adding bus aides and additional staff to ensure key social distancing requirements on campus, additional requirements for positions such as bus aides, and basically to facilitate the transition back to school. And sanitation was another key initiative. Additional day custodian was mentioned, as well as opportunities for additional teacher training and support for successful virtual learning. The ESSER program has kind of outlines some categories of qualified uses. Okay. So they would definitely fall between those, but it would definitely be used.
Thank you.
I can go into more detail get more details if you need them.
Abby, they're like, man, she's struggling right now.
Abby, you're doing fine.
I know
Abby,
my microphone is having, apologies if I'm speaking too loudly.
this is just additional grant funding, and it also includes the CARES money that the county gave them.
Okay.
That's included down there at the bottom. That's
Well, I know we just had that, proposal, presentation by, Dr. Jobby. I was wondering if some of this grant funding could be used for some of their aids and such.
This is from this fiscal year we're in right now. What she just presented is all for FY22.
Right on. Well,
Sorry.
no, yeah, I understand.
You tried it.
Yeah, I tried. But,
hey, that's good thinking there, sir.
Right.
Good
Right.
thinking.
yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you what, it worked over in social services.
Yeah.
That kind of thinking.
Right on.
So,
Any other, discussion of questions for Ms. Pemberton? Okay, not close for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we amend the fiscal 2021 year grant budget to $1,983,19, which will reflect an additional increase of $597,000 as presented by Mrs. Pemberton.
Any discussion on the proposed motion? Vote for score.
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
Both sides, thank you.
Abby, if we could go back for a quick second, I just want to make sure that we're clear. Gentlemen, on page 114, we had the PSAP grant for the PEP project for $19,000, and then the memo for the PSAP grant for $21,000. Are those two separate items?
No, and I apologize. The 21,000 was the correct amount is the 19,000. It's a combination of 16,000 and 3,000. The memo on page 2 was just a typo. And I apologize for not correcting that before.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Ms. Pemberton.
Thank you.
Next item we have, gentlemen, we'll ask Dr. Russell to come join me at the table. We have the litter prevention and recycling program, and she'll present that grant. This is Dr. Russell.
Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening.
I'm sure Mr. Smith, Mr. Black, Mr. Coder, you all are familiar with our litter prevention program grant that we've received for multiple years from the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. This grant, this year award amount is for $5,608, and we're asking that you authorize the acceptance of these funds, and they'll be used for activities like roadside cleanup, beautifying our parks and recreational spaces, providing support for all county business buildings for recycling activities, and the purchase of souvenirs, things of that nature, encouraging recycling.
How would we implement roadside cleanup, trash pickup process? Is that something that we use it for?
It is something that we can use it for, and there's an activity currently being planned right now in coordination with the local Boy Scouts.
Okay.
And there was a lunch meeting on last Friday at Indian Tavern to coordinate that effort. So
I know we used to do that, but it changed staff, things like it will change. So we can get it back. That would help clean up these roads.
yes, a little bit of time.
Right, yes.
The Raritan used to do a cleanup day that I thought, didn't we contribute bags and?
They provide bags and the little
Right.
things that pick
Little
it up.
cones, things that, to help them out.
That's what we,
Well,
the
we
funds
used
to
to do
help with
that, but
that.
then, you know,
Right,
everything changed.
that's what we used to do with this stuff.
Yeah, and that's what we still do with it. And we also got, received supplies from VDOT because last year, before COVID, I think it was last year, we attempted to do a countywide litter cleanup. We only had 3 individuals to come out, and I think COVID hit, and so we kind of, it didn't manifest. But the grant will allow us to buy the litter pickers, I guess is just what you can call it, and the bags and just items to encourage recycling. So that's led by the Community Development Department. Yes, sir.
Speaking of litter, have we ever enforced any type of penalties for littering in our communities? Like, have we physically caught somebody and say, "Hey, it's your litter"?
Well, I think the key is catching.
That's
That's sheriff's office.
I know
They're the ones that would do it.
Yeah, the sheriff's office. I do know that they did catch someone because a bag fell out of, I guess, the back of the truck with some mail, and they were able to get the address. I do know that Mr. Sullivan had requested that we look at some ordinance to cover trash, because I just took a tour of the county, and it's trash everywhere. And a lot of it is coming from when people are going to the landfill. Trash, like literally, I had a whole bag of trash that fell off somebody's truck in my ditch, and I'm like, really? You know, I did not go through it, but you know, they're not covered. So we need to revisit that ordinance, possibly to have require people to cover the trash on the back of their pickups when they go to the landfill. I think that's a lot of the problem. And I think that, you know, people just throwing trash out. I do know that St. John Baptist Church, they are formalizing the Wayside Road pickup between 106 and Route 5.
They had this once before, it got so bad, they just pulled away from it.
Right, and I know, so I did speak to some members of St. John Baptist Church, and I did see on social media that some citizens were formalizing a pickup for that road. That's really like the worst one. VDOT says for that short stretch was about a mile or a mile and a half. And last year they got like 3 dump truck loads of trash from that little stretch. It's crazy. I don't know.
No lights, no houses.
Right.
No way getting caught.
Right.
Somebody dumped like a whole mess load of tires in Sturgeon
That's
Point.
that's a trend now. There's about 3 on the road I live on.
I'm talking about like a mountain though. And it was gone the next week, and they had to block the area off, but that was crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but we want to, you know, we'll talk with the sheriff to see, but it's hard to, I guess, catch people, you know.
Neighborhood watch. Yeah.
They better be ready to go to court.
Right.
To testify that they saw it.
It's a lot of people that say, hey, he did it. I'm not saying I want to be one of them, but I'm saying that there's a lot of people that do.
Oh, so in other words, you want everybody else to do it, but not you.
That's
Well, we know where to put the cameras. We know where to put the cameras.
Oh, yeah?
Where's the
Okay, well, let's do it.
That's a good idea. So put the camera there.
I know that I did request that Major Comer do some research on camera installation for that. So he was doing some research, but not really sure where he is with that, but we can follow up.
I think it's something that needs to be checked, and especially Road 5 and Wayside Road.
But
they
it's
don't know
all
whether
over.
they are not. I mean, it's sad. And I got 3 calls in the last couple of days. There's a gentleman going around there in a pickup truck, getting trash from different houses, uncovered. Guy called me this morning. He was following him. A bag came off on Barnes Road, like right in the middle. So, sure need to watch out for something like that. I think what they do is trying to make extra money, but if you do that, cover it up and carry it to the dump. Don't leave it open, blow everywhere.
Is it permissible for me to pick up trash along Sturgeon Point with a reflective vest and all?
You sure? Because you are a citizen
I'm
first.
just making sure, you know, y'all don't call a man on me. You know, there's a guy out here.
No.
No, we
And
will
we
call and say, yeah, we love him.
And we do have, Miranda, we do have some vests available in our office, correct? That you can utilize. We got some VDOT as well as the pickers and the bags. So, and if you do pick up trash, you can leave the orange bag on the side of the road. Just let us know, and VDOT will pick it up. If we just give them a call and let them know.
Well, I think Saturday morning I plan on doing a little bit of Sturgeon Point. So.
Well, get some bags, we leave it and pick up and maybe have someone to join.
Right on.
Okay.
I invite y'all.
So we want to, so the request on the floor is that you will accept and appropriate the litter grant from Dr. Russell.
I motion to amend the budget to reflect the grant award of $5,608.
And discussion on the black vote. Vote for flag.
Aye.
Let's go.
Aye.
Both sides. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next item is the VRS rate change. Aisha, if you could bring Ms. Boyne into the broadcast, our Human Resources Director. So, Ms. Boyne, if you could present the next item, the VRS, Virginia Retirement Services rate change. Actually, do you have? So if you could present, Ms. Boyne, the VRS rate change, and once that vote is made, the allocation of United Healthcare refund balance as well. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Hello.
Unmute.
She's unmuted. Why can't we hear her?
She's pretending.
Lip sync.
Go to the last one, Miranda, the mic speaker.
It's at 41.
What's here?
I don't know.
We can't hear.
Dahlia, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you go out and come back in?
You could do that.
So, Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting on Ms. Boyne to disconnect and get reconnected, we will continue on to item I, the local innovation grant certification with Dr. Russell. While we're waiting for Ms. Boyne to come back into the broadcast. And so that is on page 141. I'm sorry, 140.
Okay.
Gentlemen,
Dr. Russell.
thank you, Mr. Smith, Mr. Black, Mr. Coda. We are continuing to complete the pre-contract requirements for our local innovation grant for a permanent food pantry in the Roofville complex. We have three outstanding requirements left before the state would certify us as having completed all of the pre-contract requirements. And this evening, we're asking that the board would consider and approve 2 certifications. And so the first one is related to, it's called the Section 504, and it's the county's policy regarding discrimination. And I'm going to read the second paragraph of this certification, which states that Charleston County, Virginia advises the public, employees, and job applicants that it does not discriminate on the basis of handicap status and admission or treatment of employment in its programs and activities. This source of funding from the state of $500,000 is federal dollars from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is a prescriptive requirement that we adopt this certification as a condition of receiving any federal funds. Second is a Section 3 certification, and it's a business and employment plan that essentially requires that any recipient of federal dollars engage in very prescriptive efforts to encourage small women and minority-owned businesses to participate in the contracting opportunities that would result from this grant program, which is primarily construction. The 500,000 and grant funding will support the physical construction of the food pantry building. We are required to advertise our Section 3 plan, which we have done in our local paper, the New Charles City Chronicle. And then when we are soliciting contractors for the various stages of the project, we are required to engage in directed campaigns, solicitation campaigns to encourage small women and minority businesses to participate in these contracting efforts. This does not preclude small women and minority certified businesses from participating. So we would ask that you would approve both certifications this evening. Your approval will permit the Chief Administrative Officer of our community, Ms. Johnson, to sign those certifications, and I can forward those to the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development so that we can move forward with contracting.
You heard the question from Dr. Russell.
I have a question. Do we get templates from them on what our advertisement should say?
Yes, sir, we do.
Is the one that we had published in the Chronicle, was that a template straight from them?
It
Did it point out that we will accept from, as you said, from what?
Non-SWAM certified businesses.
Did that ad point that out?
It did not.
It did not. Will we be pointing that out going forward, or will it be reading like the one that came out in the paper? I think I called and questioned about that, because the way it was written, it sounded like we were only accepting RFPs from certain people. It didn't say that we were accepting from all, but we wanted to actively recruit certain. Is that the way it's going to be going forward, or will it include all or just specific?
So when we do our request for proposals for the various stages of the project, it will be a request for proposals that does not include language that specifies a specific contract or a specific vendor. But what we meet our recruitment efforts by taking that ad and mailing it or emailing it to parties that we know are certified SWAM vendors and posting it on EVA, making it available to SWAM certified vendors.
Do you have a copy of the last ad that was ran? Readily available? Okay. Because when I first read it, it sounded to me like we were only going to accept invitations from specific groups. But you're saying that we will accept it from all groups, but we're really actively pursuing certain groups.
Small women and minorities.
Right.
Yes.
You want this just to clarify?
I just,
Or you just want to make sure that no one is left out? I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, whenever she said that, it included everyone, but the way that the ad said, I even called Ms. Johnson. I said, are we only accepting bids or whatever it was? I forgot what it was, from just this select group of people, or can anyone? And that's my whole question there, is anyone? And she's saying that we can do from anyone. But if the template is given, then that's fine, if that's what we're using.
Okay.
So that's okay. Just
Yeah,
we know that it includes everyone, so we're good to go.
Right, it does include anyone, and that's some language that we have to just, to meet the DACD guidelines, so yeah.
Okay.
So I think that, the request is that you guys approve those certifications.
So were you asking for,
Can I approve both together, or?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, a motion to approve both certifications as presented by Dr. Russell.
Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Vote Mr. Black.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Russell. Mr. Chairman, it looks like Ms. Bourne is having some technical difficulties, so we will go back to item G, the Virginia Retirement Services rate change. In your packet on page 132. I'll give you time to get there. So every year we have to do an actuarial study for VRS. And I know we had talked about previously last year just enhanced duty coverage to sworn fire and EMS personnel. And so after the study, it proved that we would have to increase our benefits, our VRS benefits that the county pays to VRS from 9.35% to 10.71%, okay, effective July 1. That's going to be an additional cost of $56,621. And so Ms. Bourne is recommending tonight that we adopt a resolution in your package electing to provide enhanced duty coverage for all sworn positions, including sheriff, fire, and EMT at a rate of 1.7% effective July 1st, 2021. So a 1.7% increase. So it'll go from 9.35 to 10.71.
Any other questions? Ms. Johnson? Wes?
Is this for any sworn position, as you said, or just for EMT and fire?
For all sworn positions. Yeah, all sworn positions. We still can't hear you, Thalia. But
Is this for all sworn positions,
it
Ms.
is. For
Boone?
all, it's not that Miranda. It's on Thalia's end. It's for all sworn positions, sheriff, fire, and EMT.
A motion for, oh,
I'm listening to you, I'm reading.
I want a motion.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I want to make sure that my colleague doesn't have anything. Oh,
Like that.
I motion for approval of the attached resolution for the enhanced duty coverage as presented.
Okay. Any discussion on Mr. Coda's motion? Mr. Coda,
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item that Ms. Bourne also had, as you know, we had a reimbursement a refund from United Healthcare, and which we used in order to give our staff raises at the end of last year. We didn't use any local funds. We used the credit or refund from United Healthcare. Well, with that refund, after all of our employees received a small stipend, we have $3,705.68 that's available. And so Ms. Bourne is requesting tonight that we use those funds for staff training. That is her recommendation, and we are looking for approval or a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Discussion, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to point out, just to make sure that it's crystal clear.
Yep.
That the only employees that received the stipend were those that were enrolled in the healthcare plan. And that's what we received the rebate from. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to clarify.
Good call. Okay, request, gentlemen? Coming from Ms. Bowen.
Okay, I motion we approve the allocation fund amount of $3,705.68 to be utilized for training.
Any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Mr. Black.
Aye.
Mr. Coda.
Aye.
The next item that we have, Mr. Chairman, the building permit fee amendment proposal by Dr. Russell. As you know, we have S Power, who has facilities of grounds under construction now for a solar powered facility here in the county. They have requested an amendment to building permit fees. And so Dr. Russell will be presenting her recommendation for that. And Aisha, you can take Thalia out of the broadcast. Thank you.
Dr. Russell.
Good evening again, once again. We had a very lively discussion at our last board meeting regarding the S-Power building permit fees and their proposal to, for your consideration to amend their fee structure. And that, to amend their fee structure for a maximum total of $500,000. S-Power, through their conditions, are required to provide a third-party vendor for site inspections, for plan review, for erosion sediment control inspections on their site. And so at the table that supports the memo, we are proposing to add an additional item to the fee structure, which states that commercial electrical energy production or just distribution permits would be at $8 per every $100,000 assessed value, up to a maximum of $500,000. And it is our recommendation that you consider that proposed amendment.
Discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Coda.
As long as I'm in total support of this, as long as there is a footnote that any other electrical and energy production or distribution facilities would be responsible for their third-party fees.
That should be a part of the special use permit process, but it wouldn't be part of this.
Okay, I get you. Then can we make sure that we cover that going forward?
Sure.
Okay, that's all I have, sir.
And just so that we can be clear for the citizens, the amendment does not reflect any residential increase in fees. This is for electric generation facilities.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just technical. the way that's put in there, it says commercial paren electrical, comma. That comma should be deleted because it's electrical energy production or distribution.
Mhm.
And,
Okay.
and the second thing that I'd ask, just to make it clear, is that after on the next line where it says commercial, I would put in paren other, in paren, so that it's consistent. There's two types of commercial construction.
Writing it.
All right. I
Thank
will
you,
take
Mr.
care of
I
that.
got it. Thank you, sir. Okay. Motion, take action on this.
I motion for approval of the amendment to the building festival scale as presented, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the Dakota motion? Vote Dakota.
Aye.
Mr. Black.
Aye.
I vote aye.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, is the CARES Act Registrar's funding. Apparently, you guys wanted that to come back before you for this month's meeting for the General Registrar, who received $48,705 in CARES Act funding. There's no action required, but on page 144, you will see the breakdown of how that funding was distributed for the General Registrar.
So this is just general information that we asked for.
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions that you all have, we can entertain them at this time.
Gentlemen, after looking over this material, y'all have any questions, comments, or staff?
Only one that doesn't have anything to do with this, but does have CARES, to do with CARES funding.
Okay.
Are we maintaining a current, updated, and living document on our webpage about the distribution of CARES funding like we agreed?
I will be completely honest. I know that we have the tool with all the CARES Act funding up there. I would have to verify with Ms. Pemberton if it's been updated. But there is a tool called Balancing Act on our website, and you can see all the itemized expenditures for CARES Act funding. So I will verify that that's been updated and email you tomorrow, sir.
That will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
I got a question.
Okay.
Who dictates this disbursement right here, for, I guess, staff? Who decides that?
So the staffing for all the expenditures for staffing. So the registrar office is of course governed by the local electoral board, and they determine the fees and stipends that are paid. The county has no jurisdiction over that. The only thing that we participated in was the first item, the networking security, because that was required by the State Board of Elections that we have security measures for elections. But the rest of it is governed by the local electoral board.
Cool. I was just wondering how.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, the recess policy provided by Dr. Russell.
Again, gentlemen, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Black, Mr. Coda. The policy that is presented before you is per your request, and it stipulates that a properly called regular or special meeting may be recessed or adjourned to a time and place by a motion made and adopted by a majority of the board, an open session during a regular or special meeting, and that the recess meeting date, time, and location shall be posted on the county's social media page. And I believe I'm correct in this, the catalyst for wanting a recess meeting policy is so that our constituents would know when you were going to have a recess meeting.
I would only, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, sir.
I would only ask that one other item be added to the recess meeting date, time, and location, and if it is available. And I understand that it's not always available, the items to be discussed during that notification, if it could be, please.
Mr. Boyd?
You can certainly add that.
Okay. And this is going to be a policy that we adopt, correct?
Yes, sir.
I motion for approval of the policy on recess meetings to be adopted, sir.
Okay. Any discussion on this forward motion?
Mr. Chairman, I just want a matter of clarification. There's a distinction between a recess meeting and a special meeting in the sense that the special meeting is limited to what can be discussed. The recess meeting, while you may want to say these things will be discussed, it's an open meeting and you can discuss anything as though it were a regular meeting.
Yes.
So it might be wise, like you mentioned, not to put anything in it, and include those things.
Well, if we know what's going to be discussed, then put it in the notice. Therefore, if something strikes a constituent's interest, they would want to attend or tune in until we go back to public meetings.
Okay.
You
But
know,
wouldn't that define itself as a special meeting at that point?
No, a special meeting is one that has not been scheduled, that is called at the direction of the chairman or board members. You publish a proposed agenda for regular meetings, so this would be similar to a potential agenda for the recess meeting. So there's no problem with that.
I think in my 9 years on the board so far, we've only had one special meeting called. And they are very rare that we call a special meeting, and there are certain parameters of advertisement and everything else. But this is just an extension of technically of an open meeting. Is what a recess is.
I was just wondering because sometimes various things come up, and you might want to discuss it. And if it isn't on that sort of agenda you put out there, wouldn't that be?
We can amend the agenda once we get there.
Okay,
Just like we did tonight on two different items.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is item M.
You gotta make that motion though.
I made the motion.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
but we
so
have-
I'm sorry.
any discussion on Mr. Cole's motion? Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.
Now, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item was added to the agenda, item M, the tower relocation. You gentlemen have a contract change order before you that we received from RCS Communications. Right here. Yeah, everybody have it?
In the book.
So this document that you have, so RCS Communication was the company that we utilized to construct the new tower at Roxbury. And so you'll see in their quote, actually the $104,990 we've already taken care of. The $26,250 is to actually move the tower, the old tower from Roxbury down to District 3 for SCS to locate infrastructure to provide wireless broadband in District 3. And so you guys requested staff to get a quote for that project. And so before you tonight is $26,650. And I will entertain any questions that you have at this time.
$26,250, right?
$250, yes.
And the question, John?
That's the move and construct. Cool.
So they're gonna move it and then reconstruct it in District 3 on Mr. Tench's property that we had negotiated last year. So this was so that the wireless broadband coverage can be expanded in District 3.
Okay.
And what is the timeline on this?
That I don't have. Once this is approved, I don't think we didn't get anything from that. We can email you to get that time frame.
All right.
But as soon as this is executed, they're ready to go. They're waiting on us.
Oh, well, I'd like to, do we have to make a motion on this?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
To, I guess allocate this fund. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to allocate the $26,250 towards tower relocation, District 3.
Okay, any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
All right.
I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The next item, item N, a resolution to Congressman Donald McKeechin. And so I am going to give you the resolution, but I will read it for your hearing if you so approve. Once we get to that moment, did you give Mr. Coda one? You have to share, Mr. Smith.
Well, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they put me down on the end of the table, so I'll be quiet.
Yeah, we can put you outside. You still in quiet. So on Friday evening, really on last week, we were contacted by Congressman McEachin's office for something that is new, that's upcoming from the House Appropriations. And on Friday, we participated in a conference call with other jurisdictions around our region: Petersburg, Hopewell, Dinwiddie, individual counties and cities, and the Crater Planning District Commission, okay? And so in that meeting or that Zoom call, Congressman McEachin's staff, his chief of staff, and other members of his staff was sharing with the counties that there now is appropriate funding or funding available for localities through the House of Appropriations, okay? Funding has not been provided to localities in 10 years, okay? And so we had to just talk about some of our county needs, some of our projects that we would like to see happen. And so what will happen, we are on a tight deadline, Dr. Russell and I, because we have to do the research and put together our projects to have them to Congressman McEachin by April the 9th, okay? So we know that we have been talking about different things we wanted in the county. So what you have before you tonight are just 4 items that we would recommend you guys consider for us to submit with our proposal to Congressman McEachin. Item number 1 is to extend broadband fiber infrastructure to District 3. So you just voted to expand wireless infrastructure, but there's still a need to extend fiber like Comcast is doing in the rest of the county. That's an option. The second option is to abate the environmental hazard at the Roofville Gymnasium complex. So all of those old classrooms, they are full of asbestos, and there's a very special mitigation process that needs to happen in order to tear those facilities down. So we would submit, that could be a potential project to go through a brownfields cleanup grant to demolish those facilities. The third option, you gentlemen adopted the courthouse area development plan. And so we could submit a proposal for the implementation of that plan to create a retail space down here in the courthouse complex area according to the guidelines that was outlaid in that plan. That's an option. And then the last option, to extend water and sewer infrastructure along Roxbury Road and State Route 106. We know that Mr. Cole is only going to vote for that, so you just get ready, okay? But that is another project that we could potentially submit. We listen to you, gentlemen. We know what you're thinking, and those are the top 4 projects that we could think of that you may be interested in submitting to Congressman McEachin for consideration. And so out of the 4, we are requesting that you all deliberate and give us 2 projects tonight to submit. Sorry for the late notice. However, we have to submit a resolution to support our projects by April 9th. Now, you all have the easy part. We, Dr. Russell, has the hard part because we have to do the research. We have to write the proposal. There's a lot of moving parts that we have to do. This is the easy part. But if you guys want to switch places and do our part and we do your part, we're more than eager to do that.
Is the pay included?
No.
Oh.
What'd you say?
Is the pay included?
Yeah, so if we get your pay,
No.
they all make the big bucks.
So you're exactly right. Y'all get paid like 56 cents an hour or something.
I said that one time.
So these are 4 projects that we think are great improvements to the county. And again, this is no guarantee that our projects are going to be funded. In 2010, the House of Appropriations funded over 2,000 projects across the nation. Fully funded. So this is, we're going to throw our options in the hat, but I know Dinwiddie, Hopewell, Petersburg, Emporia were on the call, and they will be submitting. But
I think we'll get something that might not be always one. I think we'll get something.
Is it 2 things?
So 1, 2, 3, 4. What's your pleasure? Let me put Mr. Cole in. I know it's.
Both of my votes are for
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Tell you what, the last year that I'm chairman, excuse me for my French, you have help. Anyway, okay, now, I will vote twice for number 4, because number 4 will in turn pay for the other 3 in the future years coming down the pipe. That is, number 4 is the very lifeline of our county. I can't say it enough. If we don't economically develop this county, we're dead in the water. I'm done.
Thank you.
Number 4, 1.
I'm choosing for 1, obviously. You know that.
We have a choice?
Yeah.
I want number 4, please.
What number did you say?
3.
What did you say?
4.
No, social distance. So number, it looks like number 4 is one of the projects. I would request that you all would do seriously pick another one.
Number 2 would be internet, go through the rest of District 3.
What's the,
So you wanted number 1 initially, correct?
Yes.
What's your number 2?
Well,
Your second project?
well, if all of these things are included, well, my number 2 would be, I guess, they extend the water and sewer also, of course, because, one leads to the other.
My second choice would be number 1, because that is extremely important to get fiber to the houses, and the environmental hazard has been there for many, many years, and it's going to be there for many more years until we finally do tear it down. But that is not on the first, that's not on the front burner right now as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
I don't have any problems with number 1. That's a really high issue throughout the county, man. So I think we need to continue to move on with that. And any chance that we get funded to help, I think we need to do.
Okay. So with that being said, I will read the resolution for your hearing, for your approval.
Can I ask you something? Prior to you doing that, do each of these have a, like say if we're gonna abate the environmental hazard at Bluefield, does it have a price tag with it? Meaning, so you can compare like, oh, well, in the future, this would cost us X amount of dollars and this would cost us this now to cover it and get it out of the way.
No, so what happens from this point, once you guys have now told us item 1 and item 4, now we go research and we put together proposals with costs associated. So when we submit it, we will have those costs, but we will not have the cost for the abatement because that's not the project that you chose at this time, Mr. Blind.
That's awful.
Welcome. Welcome to her being back.
Yeah, I want you back.
Yes. Hey, it only takes 2 votes.
No.
So I will read the resolution 2021-02 for Congressman McKeeshan appropriation. Whereas the Charles City County Board of Supervisors supports the submittal of appropriations for voting District 3 for funding, and whereas the board consider and approve the following projects: extend broadband fiber infrastructure to provide service in District 3, and extend water and sewer infrastructure along Roxbury Road, State Route 106. The projects are countywide priorities that have been contemplated over a multi-year funding period. And whereas March 2021, the House Appropriations Committee announced that funding requests for community project funding, formerly known as earmarks, will be considered for the fiscal year 2022 appropriations process. And whereas direct funding to specific governmental entities, nonprofit organizations, or geographic location has not been permitted in congressional appropriations in more than 10 years, and Charles City County desires to participate in this historic funding opportunity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Charles City County states its intent and authorizes submission of the proposed funding request.
So we need to take action on the resolution.
Correct.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on for motion.
Motion for approval, Mr. Chairman.
And motion for approval, Mr. Stoller, any discussion? Mr. Stoller?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
I vote aye, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the broadband update. You have before you on page 146. SCS Broadband has extended service to 10 individual installs, and they have 15 service requests that are pending, that the appointments for those installations are being processed now, so that will bring them to a total of 25 wireless homes that they will bring service to. Question, Mr. Lott.
How are they performing so far? The 10 you said, I believe. 10. How's the performance?
We have not received any information from any of the 10 constituents who have service, so we don't have an answer for that tonight. But we can seek that information from SES and Dr. Russell.
Right.
As far as Comcast is concerned, they have 77 passings that are eligible for their system. They have completed the 140-mile fiber installation. I have requested that they give us the connections themselves, and they have informed me that that is proprietary information and that they will not provide us the number of connections. So what you have is 77 passings, which means that, 1,977. 1,977 passings. So that means we have 1,977 households that service is eligible. Scroll down for me. Well, since I'm on Comcast, Miranda, there was a question from Tony Harris. Says, does Comcast have to get a permit for every single house if they have to cross the road? And I want to address this question because I am suffering from this process. So if you live across the road from the infrastructure needed, they may have to bore under the road, which is requiring them to get a VDOT permit. I have been waiting since February 9th for my service for VDOT to expedite my permit. So I talked to Marshall Wynn, and it was so amazing that I called him, and there were 3 permits in the queue. And just surprisingly, I give him a call, and the permits get approved the next day. So I have a conversation, Ms. Harris, with Marshall Wynn to say when Comcast submits the permits, that they expedite them because they have to bore under the road for some houses, and I happen to be one of them. So what should have taken me a week has now taken me over 30 days. And I can move my house.
So you recommending this to the rest of the citizens throughout the community that have that availability to expedite their permits? Or reach out to VDOT to do so?
So what I have requested from VDOT, I want to know every permit that is coming from Comcast, and I have requested Comcast to send me the permits that are going to VDOT, and I want to make sure that those permits are expedited. So it's not just for me. I just happened to know that learned that there was 3 other citizens in the queue.
Ms. Johnson, why don't you just ask Mr. Wynn to put that in his monthly report for the next few months?
Okay.
And therefore, it stays forefront, and we don't have to catch up or play catch up. Hopefully, it's expedited before it gets to us.
Right. So VDOT said it was Comcast. Comcast said it was VDOT, but the paperwork says it all. Yeah. So we are. But here's the thing. That's not for every house. It's a special. My house is across from. Yeah.
Have to do that.
Right. So as far as upcoming events are concerned, we have a lot coming up that's posted on our website, our social media. The most immediate thing is our vaccination clinic tomorrow for the second shot of Moderna for those individuals from February 23rd. We also, April the 7th, we'll have another clinic. We are not sure if it's going to be Moderna or Johnson & Johnson that will be administered. And then we just some other events like the farmers market coming up in May that we're preparing for. So just watch our website, our social media pages for those of you in the public to watch out for our upcoming events. So we do appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, this concludes all of my report and brings us to our second public comment period. I would ask, ladies and gentlemen, if you have comments to start to drop them in the chat, and we will just address them as they come in. And I think we left off with Mr. Brown.
Okay, Adam Brown.
Adam Brown, any way the county can get trash picked up, would love to have it. I think, if you could scroll up, it was one more before him. Would you like to do it now, Mr. Coda?
You want me to?
Yes.
To do what? To make the
To
comments?
do the disclaimer on the comment.
Okay, we started this back when we started the Zoom meetings and all. The sidebar that is on our website or on our Zoom meeting is not for an ongoing comment area, to make comments on pretty much everything that's being said. That is pretty much designated just for citizens to make comments to be read by Mrs. Johnson during our public comment period. So going forward, if we can just reserve that to comments that you want to address the board with. In the regular non-virtual world, we used to give 3 minutes and 5 minutes, and you really only had one comment to make per comment period. That's why we have 2 comment periods. So going forward, if you can just reserve your comments to the comments that you want read during public comment period, we would appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So the comment that came in after the first one from Ms. Schreiber, hopefully there are more than one quote for the water treatment plant. I think what the schools represented, the number they represented was a study that was done. And so that project will have to go out to bid. Also, Ms. Schreiber said, can we implement a county trash cleanup program? Mr. Adam Brown, any new comment for residents that want Comcast but are too far and need financial help from the county? I think we've addressed that. We've addressed Ms. Tony Harris. Ms. Sheehy says, thank you, Mr. Black, for her appointment. Anna Post, is it supposed to be secured? Not really sure what Ms. Post is speaking of. Adam Brown, any way the county can get trash pickup, would love to have it. I'm assuming that's a company to come around and pick up trash. I know that County Waste is eligible in Charles City County. Kevin Sullivan is excited to see guys talking about trash pickup. We don't need to look at enforcement. We need to look at neighborhood involvement. Kevin's also informs everyone that VDOT will give you everything for free for trash pickup, or you can contact my office. We also have items. Ms. Black wants to hire citizens from the county to pick up trash and road work, etc. That will keep money in the county and jobs. Mr. Codem and Mr. Brown says, well said. Keep scrolling for me, Miranda, or Mr. Brown.
That's
yeah,
it.
Comcast skips over the whole Travers Bend subdivision. That's crazy, almost 30 homes. Mr. Brown, I have connected the Travers Bend developer with Comcast that's doing a study right now to hopefully bring service to the Travers Bend subdivision. That is all of the comments that we have. I don't see any new comments. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, we will entertain any directives and comments from you three gentlemen.
Gentlemen, any comments or directives for staff?
I know Mr. Wynn said that we were gonna meet, he wanted to meet with me, and I would think it would be with all of us, so we can have a serious talk with him and, his chain of command, so we can discuss, some of our road issues such as the ditches and, repairing and, revamping our road issues. But, if that has no solution, and we don't see a solution in that, we ought to consider, our own road cleanup crew or our own road repair crew and the equipment that goes there with it, if it's possible. There's just an idea. It's not something that's set in stone, but that's something that we should look into. Because I think we shouldn't depend on just one agency to help us maintain our roads. What do you all think about that?
I think it's something that we can look into, but everything comes with price. So if that's the case, like, if you want to go forward, or think we're going forward, I would like the staff to come back with a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about machinery,
Mm-hmm.
employees, showing.
Mm-hmm.
And the approval of VDOT. and everything that has to be done too.
Yeah, you can't touch the road unless VDOT gives the approval, this type of operation set up.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, it's,
you gotta pay for nice things, nice TVs, nice owls, nice earrings, nice, nice watches.
Earrings and tar are
Yeah.
totally different price point.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you want nice things and complaints continue to pile up, we gotta do something about it, and they should be willing to pay for that. I know I am.
So am I hearing you all wanted to do some research on what it would take to develop a road transportation department within the county?
just like Henrico County.
Henrico County they maintain
They
their own
maintain their
roads.
own roads.
In Henrico, they do receive some assistance from VDOT. It's not 100%. But so we can, and I'm not sure, we probably there has to be a general assembly.
Mr. Chairman, that's Enrico and I believe Arlington are the two counties that did not, in 1932, transfer all of the road responsibilities to the state. Charles City and everybody else did, but those two counties, and that's the historical reason that Enrico has its own maintenance system. So you really got to get straight with VDOT first, because you cannot work on the VDOT roads without their permission.
With that being said, it's possible. Just because it's historical doesn't mean that it's not.
You'd probably have to change something.
Well,
because you'd have to get back to where Enrico was, where they did not see. But we gave all of the county had rights of way and ownership of roads, and that was all transferred to VDOT. So before you get too far down the road, I think you need to talk to VDOT first.
Of course. Well, that's why I led the comment with speaking to VDOT, and if those solutions aren't possible and they don't help us fix our road issues, then maybe those are some of the options that we need to pursue. And that's why we got you to help us get there. And that's just what it is. That's all I had. I mean, and you go to other counties and other places that are nice, people move there because of the nice things. They pay for it.
Good point.
Just saying.
That's a good point.
They move there because they pay for nice things.
That is a very good point.
Just saying. If you want nice things, you gotta pay for it. That's how I wrap
I like when you use have to pay for it. Yeah. Or where's the money coming from?
Well, that's who we're here to formulate.
And that's what 106 will do for us.
Well, yeah, to a certain degree, yeah.
So we will put together an outline to come back next month of what the direction we're going in our research, because it's going to be some in-depth research that we will have to create. And so I think we totally agree with you. When you drive Charles City Road and you clearly define the difference between Henrico, Charles City Road, and as soon as you cross the Charles City Road, cross over into Charles City, that the road means it's completely different. It's amazing to me. So we will present an outline of where we're going, not the actual research itself, because that's going to be a little bit expensive on our part.
I think, as we go through this, I think we need to start off having a journal discussion with VDOT in some way and tell them, what we are planning on doing, and just kind of get a feel from them if they think it's feasible to do it, or they'll go along or agree that we can do it.
Or what can we and can't we do?
So,
yeah, exactly.
Would you all like to schedule a sit down with VDOT and some of their executives, with the three of you all, just to discuss our projects, our funding? Because we're always being told there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. There has to be money for Charles City. So I think we've never sat down as a group with VDOT, not just our resident person, but also some executives to understand how can we improve Charles City County. Is that something that you guys wish to happen?
Yeah. I'll go along with that. Heck yeah.
Okay. All right. So we can work.
That may even be the start of this discussion right here.
I think that's the basis where we should start before we fully say, because if we have taxpayer dollars that's committed to VDOT, then we have to hold them at a higher level of accountability for our area. Even if it couldn't just mean they increase the number of staffing, just to help with litter pickup here in the community,
We used to have one full time. We don't have that anymore.
No, so I think that we need to just success. So we'll start there.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get that schedule. Other board directors and comments?
You want me to go? I haven't gone yet.
Go home.
Ms.
Go ahead, yeah.
Ms. Johnson, when did you go out on medical leave? What date?
January the 18th,
When did you come back?
March 22nd, this Monday, yesterday. Is it 18th? Yesterday.
So you were out for 60 days?
I think so.
60 days. And I'm probably going to rain on your parade, Mr. Chairman, 'cause I know you were going to probably mention this, but just in case, I'm going to say, I would like, as one board member, to really commend Dr. Russell. During the time that Ms. Johnson was out, it was seamless. And you did a good job. And I want to make sure that we recognize you, because not everyone can step into her shoes. And you did, and it went off without a hitch. And I know you got tired of me calling you from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m., but you handled it like a champ. But anyway, you did a really good job.
I agree.
And as one board member, I know my colleagues agree. Thank you very much for filling in. At least we now know we have a competent replacement for Mrs. Johnson.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm not gonna take that.
You all were
you
all were very supportive, and I thank you for that, as well as our team. We have a great team.
Mm-hmm. And just one other thing, Ms. Johnson, before you went out, we were working, and the board agreed on a third-party IT consultant company for at least a minimum of 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please give the board an update on that at our next board meeting?
Sure.
And the game plan going forward, so that we can make sure that we structure and steer position IT in the right position
Sure.
going forward.
Not a problem.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Other than the SES update from the constituents,
Okay.
the 10, the customers, how they performing. I mean, especially being that they're coming to my district, gotta be dirt ready.
Mr. Chairman, any other?
Anything else?
Good.
So, Mr. Chairman, before we close, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to the three of you gentlemen in my absence. I truly had a very adventurous time out on medical leave, but thank God I'm still here. I am healthy. I am more energetic than I was last time. I almost have you beat. But I do want to thank Dr. Russell and just echo what the board said. Thank you for continuing to move the county forward. And I want to thank my staff. Dr. Russell, she did a great job, but the staff supported her, and the staff just keep things moving. But I especially want to thank the citizens of Charles City. Once a lot of citizens found out that I was on a medical leave, I was overwhelmed with flowers and cards and phone calls and food. They made sure my son ate, because I was down for the count for about 2.5 weeks. But once they found out, it was like my son told Mom, I feel like you died. There's so many flowers coming to the house. But just all of my colleagues from around the region, other county administrators, and I'm very, very appreciative. I feel like, wow, they really love me. So, but I'm excited to be back. No. I'm excited to be back and excited to move you guys' initiatives forward as we are moving Charles City County forward. So I want to say to all of the citizens of Charles City County, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I do need an executive session. Go ahead and say it, Lord. But I do need an executive session for personnel and investment of public funds.
Mr. Chairman, I motion to go into executive session for personnel and investment of county funds.
Okay.
Aye.
And so, ladies and gentlemen that were joining us virtually, we want to say thank you. This is all of the business for the Charles City County Board of Supervisors. I just want to also give a quick update that you will see things differently next month. And so we will be giving out some communication, because we have streamlined all of our media coverage, and so it won't be a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live. We will be streaming from our website starting next month, which you'll get some publication and you'll be able to click on the link. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for the March Charles City County Board of Supervisors meeting.
Okay,